I believe we have at least 4 of our 5 members. I don't see Eric Weldley yet. He may be joining us late, but we are otherwise good to go. Just to let everybody know, you've been muted upon entry. When it's your turn to talk, please unmute yourself. If you can't seem to get our attention or don't know how to unmute yourself, use the chat function in the lower right-hand corner, and we will get you unmuted. This meeting is being live streamed through YouTube, and we do have our court reporter, Tony Gillum, taking dictation, so please speak slowly and clearly. I do believe we have, before we get into preliminary matters, Madam Chair and the rest of the board, first I'd like to introduce Sierra Somonig. She is our new Planner 2, replacing Dave Rice. She officially started last week, and we're happy to have her. And she's mute, so you probably can't hear her. But with that.
Okay, we will kick off.
We start.
Hey, sorry, can everyone hear me now?
Hi, yes, how are you?
It's nice to meet everyone.
And I do see
Michael.
Mr. Weddley joined as well.
Great. Okay, I believe Michael and Phil both have some preliminary matters. If you guys want to go ahead and start with those.
Yeah, so first we've got BZA 20-126. They tabled last month and are asking to table again as they are trying to work around a disapproval from the NEAC by just becoming code compliant. So they're just asking for a little bit more time.
Okay, do we need to take a vote on that?
I'll move the table.
Yep.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second, sorry.
Okay, it's been seconded. Can you call the roll, please?
Yeah, 1 second. All right. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Mr. Weldley?
Yes.
Mr. Demora?
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Kai, you are tabled. And muted. You're good to go.
Okay, if anybody's here that plan to speak on that case, please know that it has been tabled. It will not be heard tonight. New notices will be sent when it is back on the agenda, and then you can attend that meeting. That was the address again. Please say the address.
That was 1588 and 1590 Franklin Avenue in the Near East Area Commission.
Okay, next item.
Michael, you want to do Harvest Street?
If it's your case, you can introduce it.
Oh, that's Jamie's.
Harvest was postponed. Notices did not. It was postponed after the agenda was put together, but notices didn't go out, so they're not requesting anything. They're just not on the agenda tonight.
Okay.
So the next tabling is BZA 21023, item number 19, 421 Rathmel Road. The applicant is requesting a tabling because of a pending right-of-way dedication exception request that would affect the variance request.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So move the table.
I'll second.
Okay, please call the roll.
All right, Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Mr. Baldelli?
Yes.
Mr. Demora?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes, thank you.
Was that Mr. Weldley that seconded?
Yes, I seconded. That's correct.
for some reason, your picture or your face, there you are. I haven't seen you pop up when you speak, and I'm always like, gosh, who was that? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other tabling staff members?
No.
If not, Madam Chair, we do have a reconsideration. This is BZA 20084, which was approved in October 2020, 6015 Cooper Road. The applicant got a approval with a condition of stamped building elevations. So they are coming back for revised building elevations. There would be no notices sent out because the variance request is not changing, just the updated elevations, which I can share. I'm not sure if I sent out these exhibits to you directly, board members.
So a question for you then, Phil, is, are we voting to, yes, allow them to come forward with their new material, or we're voting on what the new material is?
So you would just be voting tonight for the revised building elevations only. Because no notices need to be sent out, you can just do the final action tonight for just the elevations.
And so is that appropriate for them to bump everyone else that's on the agenda?
Well, it's a preliminary item, not on the regular agenda.
But I mean, we're going to hear from them and they're going to speak to the exhibits, or no?
They are here to speak if needed.
Okay.
They might be on mute, Phil, if you want to find them. And
Ms. Hardman.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? This is Philip Davis. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We're looking for Mr. and Mrs. Hardman.
Rich Hardman's on the line.
I apologize.
He's been unmuted.
So we're coming to you with a change in regards to the back side of the barn that's facing the pool. We took out the garage doors, put in a sliding door, and then put a shed roof on the back.
Okay, sir, can I have you state your name for the record?
Sure, it's Richard Hardman.
And then I will have you swear in. You will raise your right hand, repeat after me. I'm sorry, not repeat after me. Just, do you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth and nothing but the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay. Go ahead. I think that they were going to put the video up to explain, to give a tutorial of what you're explaining is being done. Okay. This is the original that was stamped for the record. Is that right?
Yep. So, Phil, that's the existing front. If you can go to the back view, please. Okay, so on that top picture of that, you can see where the awning or the shed roof's coming off the backside of that barn. It's covering a 12-foot patio. So you can represent the shed roof coming off the backside of that. And there should be another picture, Phil, showing the backside with the, instead of the garage doors on the backside, it should be a sliding door.
Yes, one moment. I have a PowerPoint showing the comparison here.
So the one on the left is the original approval with the 2 doors and the 2 man doors side by side. The one on the right is the revised. showing the shed roof and the sliding door. So we tried to improve the look on that backside that would be facing the neighbors, as well as the functionality of the shed roof.
Yeah, I think this is actually an improvement.
Yep. Any other questions?
Board members, do we have any other questions?
I'll call the question.
No, I have a question. What were there any points of contention when we approved this before relative to the architectural renderings that were provided? I don't have any frame of reference. What I see looks fine, but were there neighbors at the time that were complaining about the width, the height, additional exposure with barn outside, anything?
Mr. Jones, I do not recall any contention over the architecture. It is typical for planning division to support specific elevations, and that's why we add the elevations as conditions. But the condition was not based on any public input.
Well, your conditions, I'm not referring to that. When we hear a case, just like we'll hear neighbors today that have an opinion about something, I'm asking, based on what we approved before, was that a compromise that we got to that and we said, yes, we'll stamp this? We oftentimes do that to protect the integrity of the decision. And I don't know if that was a part of our decision-making process. That's my question specifically.
Not that I recall, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question has been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Baldwin,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes. The new stamped plan has been approved. Any other preliminary matters?
I don't believe so.
Okay. If we are ready to start our regular agenda, let me just give a couple of introductory comments. When we call the address of the case that you're here to speak to, please take yourself off of mute. Turn your camera on so that we can see you. We will ask you to state your name for the record, and anyone else that's with you that speaks on the case, we will ask you to swear in. And then once your case has been heard, you are free to leave the meeting. If you are having trouble with your audio for any reason, please try to chat over on the right side so that we can see that you're here and that we don't skip over your case. We have had technical difficulties before and we try to work with you, so don't panic. We will try to figure it out. So with that said, I will begin with case number 1, 2971 Kilcullen Drive. Will the applicant take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record?
Hi, my name is Philip Davis. I'm the owner of 2971 Kilcullen Drive, Columbus, 43221. Can you hear me, please?
I can hear you. Mr. Davis, do you swear that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, nothing but the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay. We will hear from the city first, and then we'll come back to you for any questions or additional comments.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Chair, the first case is mine. 2971 Kilcullen Drive is located at the northwest corner of Kilcullen Drive and Dunlaven Drive. The site is zoned SR Suburban Residential. and lies within the West Scioto Area Commission. The site is developed with a single-unit dwelling on a corner lot in a residential neighborhood. The applicant installed a privacy fence without zoning clearance along a neighbor's driveway and is now requesting a variance to legitimize it. The application is a result, again, of Code Enforcement Order 19470-04553. The Trevor Roberts plan does not address the issue of vision clearance. And for your reference, clear vision for other driveways, and owners shall maintain vision clearance on each residential lot abutting a street and having access thereto or abutting such access. No portion of a fence or wall exceeding 2.5 feet in height above the finished lot grade shall exceed 25% opacity when located in a required yard having vehicular access to a street or abutting such access. Based on field investigations and site distance evaluation at the intersection of Dunleavy Glen and Kilcullen Drive, and at the driveway that serves 2988 Dunleavy Glen Road, which would be the neighboring property, the Division of Traffic Management has determined that the existing fence, for which the variance has been requested to permit the fence to remain within the required vision clearance area, does not obstruct the intersection site distance triangles required by the Department of Public Service site distance at intersections policy. Therefore, the Division of Traffic Management can support the requested variance and has no further comments on this application. The West Scioto Area Commission recommends approval of this request. Staff can recommend approval as the Division of Traffic Management has determined that the existing fence does not obstruct the intersection site distance triangles required by the Department of Public Service site distance at intersections policy. We're not requesting any conditions. With that, we will turn it over to the applicant, Mr. Davis. If you're ready, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I appreciate all your comments. I've lived here since '03, and as I was told when I moved in by the neighbor before, Jeff and Jody Collins, who are the people behind me, said the fence was built in 1984. So, and I worked with the city, and as far back as they could go is 1990, I guess, and there's never been a problem. I've never had any accidents or any. I've already spoke with a couple of other groups, Northwest Association and people like that. So I've never had any problems. As a matter of fact, I got my kids live with me. I'm a single dad. My kids live with me, and they grew up in this. It was good for the fence because it's saved them from the street. So I don't really have any other comments. I'm happy that you're accepting me, and please let me know what I need to do further, please.
Okay. Is there anybody here tonight that wishes to speak about this application? Okay, board members, do we have any further questions?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Welderly,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, your variance is granted. Thank you.
Well, thank you. May I ask one question, please?
Sure.
Yeah, when might I get some documentation as to the actual acceptance of the variance in form of paperwork that acknowledges the approval?
We'll send you a board order most likely by Thursday.
Oh, okay. I'm really new at this, okay? So I'm happy that it was approved, and I'm very happy. My kids are too. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, all your attendance and support. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, case number
Have a
26.
have a good day. Bye.
Okay, have a good day. Case number 2680 Parsons Avenue. Will the applicant please take yourself off of mute? Turn your camera on. State your name for the record.
Blake Compton.
Good evening, this is Angela Mingo. I'm here representing the property owner, Nationwide Children's Hospital. We are the owners of 680 Parsons Avenue, working in partnership with Blake Compton and Eastside Public.
Okay, are the two of you the only ones that are going to speak tonight?
Yes.
We are the only ones who are speaking, but also joining us is Carla Fontaine, here also representing Nationwide Children's Hospital.
Okay, if you can raise your right hand. And you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, nothing but the truth. Please state I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, We will hear the city present their case first, and then we'll turn it back over to you both for comments.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I have the second one as well. 680 Parsons Avenue is located at the northeast corner of Parsons Avenue and East Beck Street. The site is zoned C4 commercial and is within the Columbus Southside Area Commission. The site was previously developed with a car dealership. The applicants have been leasing the site as accessory parking for uses to the west, which is a brew pub, restaurants, and offices. The applicants proposed a temporary parking which requires a special permit. In addition to the special permit, the applicant is requesting a few variances. The site is within the urban commercial overlay. So the first variance is to provide no parking lot landscaping or screening, to provide no parking lot lighting, to reduce a parking setback from 5 feet to 0 feet, and finally to provide no parking lot landscaping or screening, which is another section which is not part of the overlay. So we're giving them 2 variances for basically the same thing. As stated previously, a temporary parking lot requires a special permit. This location is within the Columbus Citywide Planning Policies, C2P2, part of the early adoption area, and guidelines suggest that landscaping installations should provide aesthetic appeal. Staff recognizes the temporary nature of the request, encourages additional planters where excess pavement exists. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Columbus Southside Area Commission recommends approval. Staff can recommend approval as the parking lot is temporary, and we are requesting the following condition. The variances will only be valid for as long as the site is developed as a temporary parking lot. And with that, we will turn it over to the applicant.
Okay, Ms. Mingo or Mr. Compton, do you have any other additional information to provide?
What I'd like to share this evening is that Nationwide Children's acquired this property in 2019 with plans to redevelop this property at a date to be determined. There currently are no existing plans for redevelopment. As such, we learned that there was interest by the civic associations in the area, as well as the Columbus Southside Area Commission, to accommodate additional off-street parking for the businesses within the corridor. And so we had an opportunity here to be a good neighbor and provide off-street parking to enable commercial use of the corridor. Again, this is temporary in nature, which is why we have made the request for the variances. I will go ahead and turn it over to Blake Compton for additional comments as the applicant.
What is the what's the length of time that you need to have this special permit in existence?
We currently have a 1-year lease agreement with East Public for use of this parking lot.
Okay, so 1-year temporary permit. Is there anything else that we need to know about that to take our vote?
I would add that the 1-year lease is potentially renewable, subject to our plans for development. So we will reevaluate the lease once the lease comes to full term.
Okay, is there anybody here that wishes to speak about this application? Please take yourself off of mute, state your name. Okay, hearing none. Does board members have any other questions?
I'll call the question.
Okay, question's been called for a 1-year temporary permit.
Madam Chair, I just want to clarify one thing. If Nationwide does decide to extend the lease more than 1 year, the applicant can come back to the board and ask for an extension for whatever the next lease period is. So they have to do that within that year. Obviously, if the lease goes from May to May, they would have to come back in April. So Blake and Ms. Mingo, as long as you know that, I just wanted to clarify.
Is there a way to do a 2-year for this situation? So we're not coming back every year if we're renewing? Sure. Yeah, we'd like to request a 2-year or longer if possible, as long as the lease is intact.
I don't see.
Madam Chair, I guess the question is you.
I'm sorry, you were both speaking. What?
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so a 2-year temporary permit is being requested. Mr. Weatherly, are you saying something on?
Yes, thank you. Sorry. Was there a condition that staff recommended that we should include in, in our vote?
I didn't think there was a condition, was there?
Yes, the condition was that the variance would be valid only for the time, let me read it verbatim. The variances will only be valid for as long as the site is developed as a temporary parking lot. So once, if HUR decides to develop this as, with a building, they would have to come back and get zoning clearance for whatever other variances may be needed. So
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're calling the question with the condition.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Call. Thank you, Eric. Mr. Weatherly.
Yep. You bet.
Okay. Question has been called with the conditions for a 2-year.
It's an every EV expected for
Please call the roll.
and that electric wagon.
Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Mr. Welderly?
Yes.
Mr. Demora?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes. Permit and variances granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, case number 3-1313 Harmon Avenue. Will the applicant please take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record?
Douglas Moore. Robert Tullett.
Hello, Mr. Moore, Mr. Tullett, will you raise your right hands? You promise that the testimony you give is nothing but the truth and nothing but the truth. Please state I do.
I do.
Thank you.
I have one more, too.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's somebody else?
I'm not in the same office, but I am Catherine Beach, and I've been helping Mr. Moore through this process. I work for the engineering firm.
Okay, you can raise your hand as well, Ms. Beach. You promise that the testimony you give tonight with the truth, nothing but the truth. Please state I do.
I do.
Thank you. Okay. We'll hear from the city first, and then we'll come back to the applicant for additional comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 1313 Harmon Avenue is located on the west side of Harmon Avenue, approximately 1,000 feet south of Stimmel Road, served by the Southwest Area Commission. It is zoned C4 Commercial and M Manufacturing. The 4.4 acre site is divided into 6 parcels that are developed with a junk and salvage operation. The site is zoned C4 to the north and M to the south. The applicant leases one other parcel not included in this application and owns a parcel to the west in Franklin Township. The applicant was issued a zoning code violation order in February 2018 for several issues related to junk and salvage use on certain parcels. Surrounding uses include vacant industrial land to the west and east, junk and salvage to the west, an industrial concrete operation to the north, and a food and drink processing business and warehousing to the east. The applicant proposes to legitimize existing conditions. The variances are to not provide striping for employee parking spaces, to use a non-approved surface material for parking, and to reduce storage setbacks from residential, from the right-of-way, and from interior lot lines. Columbus citywide planning policies state that loading, storage, and other external activities that generate noise and other impacts should not face public rights-of-way. And in the event that this is not possible, such areas should be fully screened. The revised site plan showing additional landscaping along Harmon Avenue frontage can be supported by Planning Division. And planning recommends that the fence fabric facing the public right-of-way be replaced where needed and have 100% opacity. The Southwest Area Commission recommended approval of the request, and they also requested that the fence slats be repaired. City departments recommend approval as the proposal is consistent with C2P2, which state that uses that generate noise and other impacts should be fully screened. We recommend the condition that they repair the fencing along the right-of-way to 100% opacity, and that the applicant commit to the stamped landscaping plan. Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Beach, or hold on, I'm trying to get back to my screen here. Did the applicants have anything else to add to this application?
Let Catherine go.
Yeah, I'll speak to, just generally, we appreciate your entire staff's assistance on this project. We understand that the Southwest Area Commission and the folks there at the city would like to have Adept Properties repair the fence slats so that we have 100% opacity and to commit to the stamped landscape plan. As for the commitments to those items, I'll turn it over to the owner of Adept Properties, the applicant, Doug Moore.
Okay.
We'll be very glad to do whatever needs done to get the zoning that we need.
Okay, so you're committed to the fence and the screening and the landscaping and this is this final site plan. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Anything else you want to add about this application?
Appreciate the city of Columbus.
Okay. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak about this application? Okay, board members, do we have any additional questions?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called with the conditions. Please call the roll.
Mr. Walderly,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variances are granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Case number 4, 281 and 289 Detroit Avenue. The applicant, please take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record.
My name is Carrick Sherrill. I'm with Columbus Design Company.
How are you doing, Mr. Sherrill? Can you raise your right hand and promise that the testimony you give tonight with the truth, nothing but the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay, thank you. We'll hear from the city first, and we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This was my case. If you recall, 281, 289 Detroit was previously heard and approved by the board at last month's BZA meeting. The board agreed to reconsider as the site has changed somewhat, and some of the variances. There's one variance that's been added, and a few variances that are noted in the agenda heading that have changed slightly. Just to refresh your memory, the site is currently undeveloped. Surrounding uses include a single unit dwelling to the west, vacant land to the north and south, and heavy manufacturing to the east. The applicant proposes to split the lot and construct 2 single unit dwellings. Variances are to allow the western unit's parking space to be accessed through the eastern property, to reduce the lot areas for both units, to allow fronting on an alley, to reduce both units' maximum side yards, and to reduce the western lot's rear yard requirement. So just to clarify, what was previously the new variance is to allow maneuvering for 281 to maneuver through unit 289 to access its parking space. A change in the area district requirements is to reduce the lot areas required from 5,000 square feet to 1,726 feet is the new proposal, when 1,978 square feet for 281 were previously approved. And okay, if you look at the site plan, it still has it on the PowerPoint. If you go back one, Phil, that was the previously approved site plan, and then the next slide is what's currently being proposed. So the property line is straightening up, and the property to the east is gaining a little bit more land. So to reduce the maximum side yards required for unit 281 from 9.9 feet to 8 feet, and for unit 289 from 13.9 to 12 feet. Previously approved. And then to reduce the minimum side yards permitted from 5.06 feet for unit 281, when 5 was previously approved, to 3 feet, and 5 feet for unit 289. Finally, to reduce the minimum rear yards from 25% of the lot area to 19%. 7 was approved originally, so they're gaining 12% of rear yard. So you can see the reductions are minimal. Staff is still recommending approval, as we had before. We determined the proposal is consistent with the area plan, which recommends a dense neighborhood fabric, specifically 1 and 2 units for the site. The Italian Village has also issued a certificate of appropriateness for revised drawings, and the Division of the Division of Traffic Management has no comments. And we are not asking for any conditions, so we'll turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you for your time this evening. I apologize for having to bring this back. We simply got a revised survey that had about a 50 square foot difference in the total amount of property between the two parcels. So when we had them, when we were going through the lot split process, there were some numbers that were off. In the process of coming back to you folks, we decided to straighten out that property line between them and add the maneuvering variance. So with that, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay. Do you agree with the conditions proposed by the city?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak about this application? Okay. Do we have any questions from the board?
Call the question.
Question has been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Mr. Welderly,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Keep me honest, I'm not sure. 1800 Walcott Road. Is the applicant here? Please take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record.
David Hodge, attorney for the applicant.
Hello, Mr. Hodge. Can you raise your right hand? You promise that the testimony tonight be the truth, nothing but the truth. Please state I do. Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Whoever's case this is.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 1800 Walcott Road is located on the east side of Walcott Road, approximately 130 feet south of Vulcan Avenue, served by the Far West Side Area Commission, its own limited manufacturing. The 10.5 acre site is developed with a truck equipment manufacturing warehouse, office, and truck sales lot, and a single unit dwelling used as a night watchman's house. Surrounding uses include a warehouse and nursery to the west, vacant industrial land to the north, a rail yard to the east, and a tree management company to the south. The applicant proposes to create two new parcels, including a 6.8 acre parcel upon which a new asphalt recycling facility will be built in conjunction with an adjacent asphalt plant. The applicant also proposes to install an 8-foot tall privacy fence on the perimeter of the two larger parcels. A special permit is required to operate a salvage yard. Variances are required to reduce the separation distance between a salvage yard and a more objectionable use and a residential zoning district from 600 feet to 590 feet, and variance to increase the maximum pile height from 10 feet to 30 feet. As you'll see in the report, there are several code sections that will be repeated to vary the separation distance from 600 feet to 590. The Treview-Roberts area plan states that landscaping, that landscaping and screening should be used to soften industrial buildings and outdoor storage from public right-of-way. After receiving more information on additional landscaping here on the slide and screening to be included on the Walcott Road Frontage Planning Division is now in full support. From traffic management, due to the limited nature of the requested variances and in consideration of previous discussions with the applicant, traffic management can support the BZA application with the condition that a traffic access study be provided prior to final site compliance plan approval. The Far West Side Area Commission recommended approval of this special permit request and variances from 3363-41B, 3392-10B, and 3392-12. So there is one code section, 3363.19C, which the Area Commission did not vote upon, but is the same variance request as the others noted. So the Area Commission had concerns outlined in the standardized recommendation form that you received, and the condition that the 8-foot tall fence be installed around the perimeter. City departments recommend approval as the proposal is consistent with area plan recommendations in regards to landscaping and screening. And the applicant proposes an 8-foot fence along the perimeter, thereby mitigating the pile height variance. We recommend 3 conditions: that the applicant commit to the stamped landscaping plan, which shows 2-foot mounding. The applicant install the 8-foot fence along the perimeter of the asphalt plant and recycling facility, except for the front yard. And the condition that the traffic access study be provided prior to final site compliance approval. Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. Hodge, let's start off with the conditions first. Do you agree with those 3 items?
Sure. And so my client is here. I think Jared Smith is with us. If you want to jump in here, Jared, and talk about the 3 conditions from the staff report, notably the relatively recent addition to the traffic access study to be done with the final site compliance plan.
Okay. Mr. Smith, can you state your name for the record, then I'll swear you in.
I'm freezing it here.
So you probably need to turn one of your devices off.
Yeah, Jared, if you're using audio through the computer and video, you'll have to turn off your audio and phone and call in. Otherwise, we get that reverberation.
Yep, I'll call back in from my phone.
Okay.
Okay.
So while he's doing that, Phil, are you able to show as part of as part of the staff report go back to the zoning map? I'm just going to stall here a little bit until Jared gets back on. Yeah, that's perfect. So you can see that the site is zoned in a LM district. Everything around this property is zoned manufacturing. There's a rail yard to the east, which you can see from an aerial photograph. Yeah, there you can see all of the rail yard over there to the east. The variance that we have to reduce the setback from residentially zoned or used property is a property down to the south. You can see it there, the yellow. That property is kind of a leftover zoning from when it was annexed in I think that shows the 90s. That property is not residentially used at all. It just maintains the old residential zoning. So that's a bit of a technical issue there. You know, the policy purpose behind the 600-foot buffer is to protect residential uses from manufacturing, and here we do not have that because that property is not zoned residentially. I also heard somewhere that property was in for rezoning, but I looked earlier and couldn't confirm that to be the case. As staff mentioned, several of our variances are sort of repeats of that same 600-foot separation, which is purely a technical issue. The special permit request is to allow the salvage yard, and that's the conversion of one material into another. As I'm sure the board knows, you see a fair number of these. That's to take recycled asphalt and turn it and crush up old road material so that it can then be fed into the asphalt plant. Sorry, I'm struggling here with a bad cold, guys. The asphalt plant is allowed by right in the manufacturing district, as is just about everything else you can imagine in the city of Columbus, all of the M manufacturing, as well as all of the family of commercial uses. So Jared, was that you that came back on?
Yes, I'm back on.
Okay. So I didn't know if you wanted to speak at all to the traffic access study at the time of final site compliance as a condition to the staff's recommendation of approval.
I'm fine with that. In looking at what happened, I see how staff and us kind of got on the different pages on the original application obviously was filed under the entire parcel. However, we ended up splitting the parcel as part of this application, and the existing building that is there obviously remains. So given that we are creating a new parcel with the new use, sense.
Jared, can you speak up a bit? I think we're having
Sir,
trouble
I
hearing
can't
you.
hear you at all. I'm sorry.
Just turn the volume up on your phone.
The answer to the question is yes. He's comfortable with the condition.
Okay, so we're gonna do this this traffic study, the fence, and we're gonna stamp this landscaping with the two-foot mounds as it shows on the plan.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Chairperson Palmer, that is correct. The entire site will be surrounded with an 8-foot perimeter fence, with the exception of the building setback out along Walcott. That'll be a 2-foot mound with a 6-foot fence on top of it, because an 8-foot fence is a building in the city of Columbus. And then we're going to do a landscape treatment out along Walcott Road in front of the mound and the fence.
Okay, that sounds good. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak about this application?
Yes.
Madam Chair. Sorry, I did want to state into the record, we did receive about 12 public comment letters in non-support, and we do have a few of them here to speak.
Okay, perfect. I think I heard one lady coming on the mic. Can you state your name?
Yes. My name is Christine Deach.
Okay, can you raise your right hand? You promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, nothing but the truth. Please say I do.
I do.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
All right.
You have
So
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to address the board. As we understand, the area under consideration was last zoned in the 1980s, when the area was nothing but farmland, and so much has changed in those last 40 years. The area is now going to the north, more predominantly residential in this situation. The manufacturing zone from 40 years ago directly abuts the residential and creates a conflict between the residents who live virtually beside the proposed asphalt recycling plant that's less than half a mile away, and they're not showing that on their plat maps. In addition, and based on a telephone conversation that I had with Kelly Toth, the manager of the EPA Division of Air Pollution Control, on March 11th of this year, she indicated they have not conducted a study nor been asked to conduct a study on the environmental impact of such a plant, in addition to the particulate matter and odors that are going to emanate from the asphalt recycling operation, specifically from the molten asphalt for transport by large trucks on a very small and unstable road, which is Walcott. We're dismayed that, at the very least, a traffic study wasn't done either. Walcott was originally constructed for, quote, normal vehicles and farm tractors. The proposed entrance and exit for this location sits at a narrow portion of this 2-lane piecemeal road. To the north is a bend in the road that often sees traffic left of center, and to the south, the road narrows further due to a small bridge over a piped creek, again with more left of center traffic, and the settling around the bridge pipe is quite noticeable. The traffic proposed for this project will consist of multiple trucks daily, not only delivering materials for the recycling process, but more important, 55 to 65 trucks per day containing processed molten asphalt. That's a major stress on that roadway, not designed to handle heavy trucks. Just think about the disaster if one of those many trucks carrying molten asphalt has an accident, turns over, leaches molten asphalt into the stream and onto the roadway. What kind of an environmental disaster is that? Has anybody considered it? Studies show that hot molten asphalt fumes are cancer-causing agents, in addition to a cause of headaches, nausea, and a myriad of other illnesses. Understandably, we are very concerned and worried and scared about the impending toxicity about to hit our neighborhood. So we understand from real estate professionals too, that the value of our condominiums and our next door neighbors and Hilliard Green and the apartment areas, our property values are going to be reduced by 56% because of the particulate and noxious odors from the plant. Our quality of life and the value of our homes are in jeopardy. So This case to allow for the creation of a molten asphalt plant is not appropriate for the Walcott Road location. It is with the deepest respect on behalf of those of us who live within the project parameters of the proposed Walcott Road asphalt plant, the City of Columbus and the Board of Zoning Adjustment to please deny the application for such a plant at this site. Thank you. And in addition, with me is the board president of the Highland Meadows Condominiums, Leo Riedel, and I believe John Spencer is also on board as well and would like to address the group.
Okay, I have a question for you, ma'am, before you leave. Where do you live in relationship to this? Because I thought we just were told that there was not residential within the 600 feet requirement. So if you could put that.
We are with, okay, we are within.
Can you put the zoning map back on the screen so we can see that, so that Mrs. Deach can identify where. Oh, sorry, you took it down.
The map went away.
Madam Chair, she's not within that zoning map that we created.
Yes,
I pulled up the Google Maps to
We're
show
within a half
where
a
the
mile.
residential.
We are within a half a mile of the project. And that is Hilliard Green and the apartment complexes, and across the street from Hilliard Green, the other, we're right in here, right there.
Wait, I can't see you kind of have to direct us by words.
That's where we are right there, right?
Oh, up there, okay, and the red dot is what we're talking about?
Pardon me?
The red dot is the facility we're talking about?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. That's some 3,000 feet away, Chair Palmer.
No, I disagree with you. It's less than that. It's less than a half a mile. I did the calculation myself. So it's not just our neighborhood, it's across from us as well. There's about 1,000 homes in that particular area that will be impacted because of the prevailing winds, and we will all be impacted by the noxious fumes. Our properties are going to be reduced. We are going to lose money. When we bought these properties, we thought we were going to retire and live here happily ever after. And now with something like this, that's just impossible.
One of the things that's happening here.
Wait, one second, Mr. Hodge. You'll get your chance after we get all the people to speak. You'll have a rebuttal time.
Thank you.
We can do the measurement on the screen, can't we?
Yeah, Phil, can you do a measurement to the closest proximity of it?
Yeah.
Sorry, I would do that on the GIS map. I can pull that up quickly. Ms. Deach, what was the address?
Where I live is 2479 Meadow Glen Lane. It is off of Walcott in the Highland Meadows Condominium Association.
Can you guys see my screen right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've got it measured from the property down here up the road to the development that they're talking about. And that's,
but I don't see where the
measurement is 2,825 feet.
Oh, there it is on the right.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. 2,826 feet. Okay.
And a mile is 5,280 feet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So got a half a mile to, so the code says 600 feet. Am I correct about that?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
So, may I interject just a moment? And the code is based on, nothing has been redone since the 1980s, 40 some odd years ago.
You're right about that too.
Yes, and then when you take a look at, you recently did a survey that the City of Columbus sent out to members of the community on February 28th, which was asking about zoning codes. And they noted that it hadn't undergone a comprehensive update since the 1950s. Right. And so we're way out of whack. And now they want to come in with something that is, we've got a lot
Madam Chair, the time has expired for the speaker.
Okay,
Right, Ms. Deach, I hear your concern, and I think that's why the city is undertaking that effort right now. But that's the standard that we have to uphold to until we get a new one. And so that's what we're working with. But we do hear your concerns. We do take that into consideration. I think that there was, I don't know if the gentleman in your screen was speaking as well. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir. State your name, please.
My name's Leo Radel. I'm president of the Highland Meadows Condominium Association.
Okay, you promised that the testimony you give tonight with the truth, nothing but the truth. Please say I do.
I do.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Well,
Mr. Radel, could you please spell your last name?
Radel, R-A-D-E-L.
Thank you.
Okay, to reinforce what Ms. Deach presented earlier, the nature of this area has changed dramatically in the last 20 years since our condominiums were developed. It's primarily residential now, almost more than 50% residential now, whereas before it used to be just open fields and warehouses. And this manufacturing plant would not be in keeping with the nature of this present area right now, and it would bring harm to the residents. And we are strongly opposed to going forward with this.
Okay. Okay. Is there anybody else who wants to speak?
My name's Ron Smith.
Yes.
As two people at once. I heard a Ron.
Yeah, Ron Smith. I own the property just north of 1800 Walcott, and I also want to avoid that. I do not want an asphalt company there due to the noxious smell.
Okay, can I have you raise your right hand and promise that the testimony you're going to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony.
Again, I own the property just north of 1800 Walcott. I'm directly adjacent. And right now I don't have anything sitting there, but I will have just a warehouse there eventually. Where that's intent to park some trucks and some vehicles. But yes, I do not want any asphalt recycling plant there. I wanted to voice that along with the others that are voicing that they do not want that due to the noxious smell of an asphalt plant.
And can I ask you about your history with the smell of an asphalt plant?
Just being in the construction trades and working next to them, it's awful.
Okay.
Somebody freeze up.
And your property is, can you see the screen?
He must be that.
Are you able to see the screen?
Warehouse.
Yeah, it's right up. It's just north.
And you're also in the manufacturing area?
Yes.
Okay.
So Madam Chair, what other properties have you had that are adjacent to asphalt plants? Just curious.
Are you talking to me?
No, I was talking to, I'm sorry, I missed his name, Madam Chair, if you could.
Ronald Smith.
Yeah. Ronald. Yeah.
I don't own any properties next to them, but I've worked next to them, and again, it's to be around that smell all the time it'd be awful.
Yeah. Okay. No, I was just trying to clarify your testimony, so I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Yeah, I think John, good.
I'm sorry, who?
My name is John Spencer.
Okay, Mr. Spencer, can you raise your right hand and do you testify that the testimony you give tonight with the truth and nothing but the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony.
I reside pretty close to Miss Christine Deach, and I'm going over some past history of environmental impact related to my family.
And when I look at the VOCs and also the carcinogenic values of asphalt, it brings a very dangerous impact to any community. The things that you folks are probably failing to realize is that it's not so much within the 600 feet. Within a 90-degree temperature, through the hot summers, through the winds, the fumes and the VOCs and the carcinogens that's going to come from that plant, they will not recognize 600 feet. They'll go farther out, well beyond that extent. There'll be a lot of people that's going to be very ill, very sick. In 1997, I lived in the Southfield area where I was raised up, and my mom and dad, I lost them both from basically a formaldehyde plant, Georgia Pacific, class action suit. I lost my mom, my dad, my two sisters. The impact was deadly. This is a very, very serious endeavor that we're talking about doing to the community. When you look at the ingredients that's within formaldehyde, such as benzene, chromium, formaldehyde, hydrogen sulfide has already had deadly damage on young teenagers, where it's called unrare brain cancers. I mean, this is all proven statistics. There's a website you can go to that shows about, and it talks about all the located asphalt plants with the impact that it has on those communities. And when you look at people that are doing the business, that are doing it on a level where they're concerned about the community, if you research Shelley Materials, they got roughly 19 plants. And those plants, look at the areas where they're putting them at. They're in far, well, unpopulated areas. And when you start talking about processing recycled asphalt and concrete, especially when you start talking about recycling concrete, you have to raise the temperatures even higher. And at that point, we know that you're creating even more of an abundant environmental impact than just a normal asphalt manufacturing plant. So there's some very serious things here that you really need to consider. I was a maintenance supervisor for General Motors on the west side of Columbus, where it's now a casino. OSHA and EPA came in and literally mined General Motors, and they literally, that's one of the reasons why they abandoned that plant. And it took years to go through and clean the environment underneath it. And they were forbidden to using asphalt to hold the floors together. So, I mean, this is a very, very serious impact that you're talking about putting in. It's a time bomb. And you've got all these apartments that you're developing right on top of all this.
Sorry.
You've got young kids that are going to be going into these apartments right across the street, and you've got 55 trucks a day of hot asphalt running up and down Walcott. What is that going to do to the community? What is that going to do to these young kids' minds? You really want to take that responsibility on. Is that something morally even safe?
Okay, thank you.
I totally oppose.
Thank you.
I totally oppose.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Spencer. Is there anyone else?
Eleanor, may I interject something? You asked background of other people who presented. Just because I'm an older lady and, you know, look like a gentle soul. In a past life, I spent 15 years with ODOT in Northwest Ohio, as well as in Central Ohio in a major position dealing with the state of Ohio. And I understand construction, engineering, road construction. And I also, with my husband, own, we have a sand and gravel operation that does provide mined materials for road construction. I understand asphalt, and I understand hot asphalt and what the particulate matter is and those noxious odors. It is not good. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that for me. Is there anybody else that wants to speak about this matter?
Madam Chair, this is Kelly Arnold with the Far West Side Area Commission. I'm the zoning chair.
Okay, can you raise your, do you promise that the testimony you give tonight be the truth, nothing but the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Go ahead.
I'm sure you have read all of our comments that we did send into the commission, and have, I've been listening here tonight. I wasn't sure I was going to make it, sorry. listening to the comments from the residents. And I just want to clarify on behalf of the commission that our approval of this particular variance request was within that limited confines of that 600 feet of the residential. Also, when we were looking at the special permit, again, within that limited scope of the recycled material for the asphalt. Had this been a rezoning in any way, shape, or form, I doubt you would have that same result from our commission with respect to an asphalt plant. A lot of our concerns have centered on the environmental impact and the safety impact of the truck traffic that will be along Walcott, and not just Walcott, because any way you look at it from the perspective of where this traffic will go is going to pass through residential. And this is where we have a conflict with our city in terms of how it is going about planning with respect to the livelihood of our residents. When we look at manufacturing butting up right up against residential, it creates these conflicts that you're hearing tonight. And this is the essential problem that we have. Any way you go, those trucks are going to be going past residential with open asphalt. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood that our approval was within the limited scope of that 600 feet, and noting that the zoning code hasn't changed and how we approach this. And there is really, we've had conversations with transportation or public safety and looking at these truck traffic, and there's no good clear answer for us with respect to the roadways, that safety. And again, none of this falls under Columbus Public Health. It's all Ohio EPA, which we're concerned about their actual level of protection as well. So just wanted to, we understand the residents' concerns. We have those same ones because we are residents here. I live just north of this whole intersection as well and travel along that corridor to the commercial and retail that is along the Trabue-Renner Road. So we understand those concerns, but we are also doing our due diligence within the limited scope of the commission. So thank you for your time.
Mr. Arnold, when the committee voted or the commission voted on this, were there environmental studies shared with you or presented to you, or how are those things addressed?
We have nothing with respect to environmental studies other than, it was going to be under the Ohio EPA's guidance. Again, how stringent their requirements are, I honestly couldn't tell you. And again, looking at the state of environmental protection within state and nation, there are concerns.
Okay. Anybody else here tonight wishes to speak about this application?
Eleanor, I might just add and reinforce that in the conversation. Yes.
I can't go back.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, though.
Okay. This is EPA related.
I know, but we've heard from everyone. Is there anybody else that wants to speak before I turn it back over to the applicant to make his rebuttal comments? Okay, Mr. Hodge.
Okay, great. Thank you. Phil, are you able to bring up that CSER map again that had the zoning on it?
The zoning map? Yes.
Yes, please. So as Phil's bringing up that map, I think the most important thing for the board to consider is the fact that we are not asking the board to act on an asphalt plant. That's not part of what's before the board this evening.
Oh, really?
An asphalt plant is permitted here by right under this M manufacturing district. This is not about an asphalt plant. Anybody can do an asphalt.
Mr. Hodge, I thought that you are asking for a special permit for asphalt recycling facility.
We are asking for a special permit to have a concrete crusher on the site. The asphalt plant's permitted by right.
Oh, so you're making a distinction between the asphalt plant and the recycling?
Yes, Chair Palmer, there is a distinction, and we can defer to staff, or we can pull up the zoning map and look at that. This is not about an asphalt plant at all. It is permitted by right, along with along with the manufacturing of just about every single thing you can possibly imagine being manufactured is allowed here by right. It's
And so
simply,
your facility is doing both? Are you saying you're doing both?
maybe it's simpler if we pull up well, let's leave the zoning map up here for now, and then we'll circle back. And I wanted to bring up this zoning map. I kind of wanted the CSER one because it showed it in a greater context. But one of the issues cited by some of the folks that spoke, I think Mr. Radel talked about the nature of the area changing and that it's primarily residential now. Well, you can see here that this is a decidedly manufacturing area where we are. Go back in there just a little bit, Phil. Pop the zoning map off. Everything that you see there in purple is zoned in some iteration of M manufacturing. You start to see a little residential down here in yellow, well south and east of us. You see some residential north and west. You see some commercial there in red over to the west. So it is not primarily or even predominantly a residential area that we're in. It is primarily and predominantly a manufacturing area that we're in. Now, Phil, if you could go over and pull up the site plan. I think this site plan is going to help clarify this sort of nuance here. Okay, great. So if you, Phil, if you can put the cursor on where the asphalt plant is going to be here on this site plan.
There's no asphalt plant. I thought there was no asphalt plant. What happened?
I believe, Mr. Hodge, that would it be on the this
you see the parcel? Do you see the three squares together over there? Right. So right there where the cursor is, that's an asphalt plant.
Okay.
That's allowed by right.
Okay.
When you're making
and that's
asphalt,
what you're saying. You're manufacturing asphalt there.
That's right. So
Okay.
so if you flip into the M district of the city's code, that's allowed by right under, I believe the section is 336316. That's
Okay.
the permitted use sections of the M district. We're allowed there, and nobody, at least from the city's perspective, disputes that the asphalt plant's allowed by right.
Okay.
Now, if you flip over here, you can see on this site plan where it says crusher. Now that's that's when a road is getting built, out anywhere, let's call it High Street through the middle of town. When that road's going to get built, they're going to take up the existing asphalt that's on the street, and they're going to put it into a truck. That then gets hauled to a site like this. They then crush up that old asphalt and take the big chunks of asphalt and make it into smaller chunks of asphalt. That's what's happening here with this crusher.
Okay.
That is why we're here tonight. That is what requires a special permit. This asphalt plant over here on the other side is allowed by right. Just to further sort of discuss the things that you can do in the M district, you can make tar, you can salt tan, you can make nuclear materials, you can make leather, you can make whatever. The M district allows anything just about under the sun. So I want to make it abundantly clear, if I haven't already, this is not about an asphalt plant. This is about the crusher. So everything that people said about smells, and about environmental, and about chemicals, and some of that, not that we're unconcerned about that. We have state and federal oversight over all of those things, but that is not relevant to what's being discussed or decided here with the board tonight.
So can you answer the question then to me about, are there more fumes being released from a crusher versus the plant? Is it more obnoxious smells?
No.
What is
No.
And you have what proof of that?
So the only thing that's going to be happening with this crusher is, you can imagine, it's breaking up large pieces of asphalt and making them into smaller pieces of asphalt. So there may be dust that occurs as a result of that as the wind blows, but that's not creating any kind of a fume at all. Now, that's not to say
Is the crusher, is it open or is it contained?
it's open.
Okay.
It's open.
And when you say you have state and federal guidelines, that's already in place because you have the asphalt plant there. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. This any site like this, you have oversight of the EPA in terms of its operation. There are regular inspections of the site and check-ins to make sure that you're adhering to all of the environmental requirements.
What frequency is that?
So I think that the operators on here, Ryan Smith, if you're on, why don't you come on and answer some of the questions about the operational aspects?
Hi, guys. Can you see me and hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Do you need to swear me in?
Oh, you weren't the other guy speaking earlier?
No, we just happen to both be Smiths.
Oh, okay. Yes. Please raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight with the truth, nothing but the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay, go ahead then, sir.
Okay, so our industry is heavily regulated by the EPA. We're required to get an ambient air permit to operate this facility. That has to be in place and executed prior to us starting construction. All those, the ambient air regulations we meet, we're approved for this use. We do checks 3 times a year, and every 5 years a more intensive check on any potential emissions from the plant to make sure that we comply with our permit.
Okay, so before you begin construction, there is a test of what exactly?
So the standard process is you submit your permit for approval by the EPA. The EPA approves the permit, which allows you to construct the facility. Once the facility is constructed, as soon as it's operational, we have to complete what's called a stack test, which is where they bring an analyzer in to evaluate all of the emissions from the facility and assure that we're in compliance with the permit that was submitted and approved by the EPA. So we are in compliance with all federal ambient air regulations.
So if neighbors ever have a problem with that, they can call the EPA to do another check or to
Sure.
complaints?
I mean, they're more than welcome to, but the bottom line is we meet and comply with all federal ambient air regulations. We have to, we're required to by the EPA.
Okay.
So we have the right to operate that facility based off the approval of the permit. We also are operating one of the most sophisticated facilities on the continent. It's very efficient. It's very clean. There's no smell. There's very little emissions. It's equal to a lawnmower running. It's very, very minimal. So some of the facts that were stated are not based on justifiable information.
So Ryan, I think it might benefit the board a little bit for you to talk about the recycling component of what you do and how it works overall. You know, we got into this a lot when the other one was done. We haven't discussed that very much here. So talk about the recycling aspect of your business.
So first and foremost, it's very common in our industry. We are happy to be operating the first plant of its kind. This will now be the second on this continent. We're able to recycle at a higher level than a traditional plant. We produce sustainable pavement materials. So we're actually creating a positive impact to the environment. We take an old product, which is often now being placed in large stockpiles that will ultimately become landfills because we are unable to use this material. So we take this old, we call it RAP, recycled asphalt product. It's brought to our site. The crusher, which is what we're asking for the special permit on, it separates those materials basically into the same size stones we use to make asphalt when producing it with virgin materials. And then those materials, along with some virgin materials, are combined in the asphalt to manufacture new materials.
Mr. Hodge, have you been before us for a similar plant? This seems familiar.
Yes, yes. They operate another one over on, I believe it's Fifth Avenue, near the airport.
Yep, by the produce terminal, I think.
Okay.
That's right. That's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah, when you said wrap, I was like, hold on a second.
We did the
Same
one on.
Same people, same organization.
Okay.
We did the one on Westerville Road earlier. It was either January or December.
Okay.
As well.
Okay.
Just another comment here. So we were actually received a lot of support from the EPA. We were given a market development grant, which helped fund the crusher that's on our existing facility on Fifth Avenue. So they are very much in support of our effort, and we comply with all their regulations. Actually,
You muted, Ryan.
Raise your hand.
You're talking, Mr. Smith, but we didn't hear the rest.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. So the EPA supports us with this facility. The existing one that we're operating, we actually received a $200,000 grant, which allowed us to purchase the crusher and screen that we operate, which is also what we're here to request a special permit for.
Okay.
So they are very much in support of our facility due to its significant positive environmental impact and efficiency of its operation.
And Mr. Smith, that first plant was at the beginning of 2021 or 2020. How long have you been running the initial plant?
So this is our fourth season. The plant was commissioned late November in 2017. So we've been in operation for just shy of 4 years.
And have you ever received an NOV from the EPA?
No.
Good.
So I want to clarify one thing, Mr. Hodge. So if you weren't doing the crusher on here, you wouldn't be in front of us?
That's correct.
So you could open up this plant without the crusher, reality.
Say that again. We could open the plant without the crusher and we wouldn't be needing, we wouldn't be here to ask for a special permit or the setbacks because it's considered junk and salvage. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So tell us about why you need the pile heights 10 to go to 30 feet.
So these are operating piles, Chair Palmer, where material's brought in and then it's processed. So those pile heights are going to fluctuate. We think it'll be 30 at the very, very high end, and that's when product is brought in, and then it'll be quickly processed back down to 10. We ask for 30 to allow us some leeway and some grace so that we don't run afoul of the 10-foot requirement. And it's been standard in the city in the past for these working type of piles. They understand that there's a fluctuation there.
Mm-hmm. And the days of operation are 5 days a week or 7 days a week?
Let Ryan answer that one.
6 days a week. We don't always operate on the weekends, but potentially.
And seasonally too, right, Ryan?
That's correct. It's construction season, so April through middle of November or middle of December, depending on weather.
Okay.
So I may just sum up. We are here before the board this evening with a recommendation of approval from city staff, with a recommendation of approval from the area commission. We worked collaboratively with the area commission, committed to perimeter buffering, buffering out along the Walcott Road frontage. Again, this is not about the asphalt plant use. That use is there by right. This is about the crusher. We've done everything we can to mitigate that in terms of the buffering. We are willing to abide by the three staff conditions and would respectfully request your approval of this special permit and variance application. Beyond that, we're certainly happy to stay on hand and continue to answer questions.
Board members, do we have any further questions?
I'll call the question.
Okay, question's been called with 3 conditions by the city. Please call the roll.
No.
It's got to pass.
Mr. Demora, You're on
Bill,
mute.
you're on mute.
Sorry about that. As much as I sympathize with those folks, we've had this discussion before. I mean, as a board, I can only take into consideration what we're legally allowed to do. So I'm voting yes.
Mr. Weatherly?
Yeah, I would echo Bill's comments and also vote yes.
Mr. Maleka?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is one of the tougher ones we've heard, I think. But I have to vote yes.
Mr. Jones?
I also am voting yes, and just to assure, I mean, this is clearly a manufacturing district. I mean, with a wide scope of what's surrounding it. And if we were to say no today, this would go to court on appeal and they would win hands down because a judge can only rely upon what the law states. So we're simply doing that right now as well. That's what we're bound by. So yes, thank you.
And Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes, I do want to affirm the community members that came and spoke because we did hear you. And I think that directed a lot of our questions to the applicant on this issue. And so I hope that you hearing those answers made you feel comfortable in the decision that we're making here in accordance with, as others have said, this is a manufacturing district. They do have a right to operate asphalt here. They've been doing it successfully with no violations. And this is just an extension of that business that we cannot deny. So my vote is yes as well. And your special permit and variances have been granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Take it to the streets.
Okay.
Out.
The next case is
Yes.
1648 Neal Avenue. 1648 Neal Avenue. Will the applicant please take yourself off of mute? State your name for the record.
This is Michael.
Hello, Mr. Bedlow. Beddow? Beddow.
Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you promise the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, nothing but the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay. We'll hear from the city first, and we'll come back to you.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. This is a reconsideration that you guys voted on the request to be heard tonight last month. Originally heard in January, and they miscalculated their parking variance by 1 space. So I will run through the report real quickly. The site consists of a single parcel developed with a mixed-use building and monopole communications tower. The site is surrounded by institutional buildings associated with The Ohio State University. As I said earlier, the case was previously approved on January 26, 2021. The applicant proposes proposed alterations to an existing monopole communications tower enclosure. Variances were requested to maintain chain link fencing around the enclosure, as well as not provide vegetative screening. Additionally, the monopole enclosure was expanding and displacing 1 parking space, thus requiring a variance to legitimize the existing parking condition for the restaurant, office, and apartments on the site, minus said displaced space. Parking calculations were incorrect at the time, as one of the parking spaces had not been legally established. The applicant now requests to alter the parking reduction to provide 20 spaces rather than 21 initially requested, where 31 are required on the site. Planning has no comment regarding the altering of the monopole. The Division of Traffic Management has no comment regarding this variance, and the University Area Commission recommended approval of the request. Staff continues to recommend approval. Monopole telecommunications antennas are necessary for wireless communications and are permitted by the zoning code in some commercial manufacturing districts. The variances requested for monopole screening are appropriate due to the location of the monopole being screened by buildings fronting Neal Avenue. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, Mr. Beto, will you have anything else to add to this application?
Not really. I think I guess the mistake was made. There was a done a site visit, and there were photos taken. There was a car parked in what we had assumed was a space. As Michael mentioned, it wasn't legally created. Looked like at some point there was supposed to be some type of cooler or freezer and bollards out there that had either not been installed or had since been removed and was being used as a parking space. So that was where we had kind of miscalculated there. So we're just asking to more or less revise. Site plan hasn't changed in its character other than removing and the assumed parking. So we're just asking the board to look at that and just approve the one additional space just to accommodate all this calculation there.
Okay. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak about this application? Board members, do we have any other questions?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Welderly,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to number 8, 949 King Avenue. Will the applicant please take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record?
This is Connie Klima, 614. I'm sorry, what do you want me to say? Connie Klima, you don't want my phone number.
You promise that the testimony you give tonight be the truth and nothing but the truth. Please state I do.
You.
Thank you. Okay, we'll hear from the city first, then we'll come back to you, Ms. Klima.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 949 King Avenue is located at the southeast corner of King Avenue and Gerard Avenue, served by the 5th by Northwest Area Commission. It's zoned M Manufacturing. The 1.9 acre site is developed with a multi-tenant commercial building and associated 58 parking spaces. The building is occupied by 2 companies currently using their spaces for office and warehousing. Surrounding uses include apartments, 2-unit dwelling, and a gas station to the west, apartments, retail, and a daycare to the north, retail, restaurants, and a gym, all owned by the applicant to the east, and an AEP Ohio substation to the south. The applicant proposes to add a religious use to the commercial building and rearrange and add 3 parking spaces. The assembly use will only occur on Sundays, while weekdays the space will be used for counseling and mentoring. The variance is to reduce the minimum number of required additional parking spaces. To reduce the minimum number of total parking spaces from 110 to 61 spaces. C2P2 state that requests for parking reductions can be considered based on the presence of on-street parking, proximity to transit and pedestrian facilities, and the nature of the use. C2P2 also recommends that parking lots be screened from view of the public right-of-way and that street trees be provided. As the site is located in a walkable, close to transit, includes bike parking beyond the required, and with high peak use, it is only once a week. Planning Division is supportive of the parking reduction request. Additionally, the landscape screening and addition of street trees is consistent with C2P2 design guidelines. Staff notes that the use is inconsistent with the plan recommendation of light industrial, but notes that this is allowed under existing permissions. From traffic management, due to the nature of the use as a religious gathering space and the parking demand for the new use being focused on Sundays, when the other uses at the site are not functioning, as well as the small size of the congregation, Division of Parking Services grants the appeal for exemption from the parking study requirements and supports the request. 5th by Northwest Area Commission recommended approval, and city departments recommend approval. The proposal is consistent with C2P2 and design guidelines, as it's located in a walkable area close to transit, includes bike parking beyond the required amount, and includes landscape screening and street trees. And we recommend the condition that the applicant commit to the stamped site plan. Madam Chair.
Okay. Ms. Klima, do you agree with the conditions set forth by the city?
Yes, we do.
Okay, do you have anything else to add about this application?
Not unless there's a question.
Board members, do you have questions? Okay, is there anybody here to speak about this application? Please take yourself off of mute. State your name. Okay, seeing none. Are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question has been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
I had to step away for a moment, so I'm going to not vote in this. Thank you.
Okay.
okay. Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Weldsley,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 2127 East Livingston Avenue. 2127 East Livingston Avenue. Will the applicant please take yourself off of mute? State your name for the record.
Mr. Reynolds?
There we go. I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, Jack Reynolds, do you promise the testimony you give tonight be the truth and nothing but the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll hear from the city, then we'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. This is BZA 21-004 at 2127 East Livingston Avenue, located on the south side of East Livingston Avenue, approximately 395 feet west of Sheridan Avenue, and within the Mid-East Area Commission and Zone C4 Commercial. The site is developed with a 2,000 square foot building, previously a drive-through restaurant, now being utilized as a loan office. The site is surrounded by commercial developments along the East Livingston Avenue corridor to the north, east, and west. To the south is the community center. The applicant proposes to raise the existing building and rebuild a more modern drive-through restaurant on the site. Located within the community commercial overlay, several variances are requested to CCO standards, as the site shares ingress-egress with neighboring parcels and permits maneuvering over property lines. Variances are requested to reduce setback, building width, landscaping, and parking drive aisle requirements. Planning is generally supportive of the proposal. The Livingston East Area Plan stresses the importance of applying community commercial overlay standards to Livingston Avenue. These standards promote a more favorable environment for pedestrians and cyclists. Columbus citywide planning policies also states that building placement and design should contribute to a pedestrian-friendly landscape. Staff is in support with the commitment to add landscaping along Livingston Avenue. Additionally, consistent with Livingston East Plan guidelines emphasizing application of CCO standards, staff requests a CCO compliant monument sign in place of the non-conforming pylon sign. The Division of Traffic Management supports the proposal with the condition that there is no access connection at the northeast portion of the site. The Mid-East Area Commission recommends approval of this request. City departments can recommend approval of the proposed drive-through restaurant with commitments along Livingston Avenue, including the closing of the northeast access point and the additional landscaping. These commitments provide enhancement to the streetscape as well as the pedestrian environment and are consistent with the provisions of the Livingston East Area Plan and C2P2 policies. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Mr. Reynolds, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Simply, the applicant is looking at raising and rebuilding a new ubiquitous coffee shop on the location. And 3 of the variances are there simply because of the size of the lot and the fact that the traffic department wanted the ingress and egress to come to the northwest corner of the lot. So in order to get the traffic off of the lot, we had to go over in front of the building in order to get that movement. And so we did work with traffic in order to close the northeast corner curb cut. So we now have their support. We've agreed to the landscaping in front of the building, and we'd like to get started on this new restaurant. And I can answer any questions that you all might have.
Okay, is there anybody here to speak about this application? Okay, board members, do we have any questions for Mr. Reynolds? Seeing no hands raised, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Waldley,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much, folks. Enjoy your evening.
924 Varsity Avenue, 924 Varsity Avenue. Will the applicant please take yourself off of mute? State your name for the record.
Good afternoon. This is Dan Sotirovich. Live at 924 Varsity Avenue, Columbus, Ohio, 43221.
Okay, can you raise your right hand? Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth and nothing but the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair, this is my case. 924 Varsity Avenue is located on the north side of Varsity Avenue, approximately 670 feet east of Kenny Road. The site is zoned SR, suburban residential, and is not within any neighborhood group. The site is developed with a single unit dwelling with an attached 242 square foot single car garage. The applicant proposes to construct a 638 square foot carport to the side and in front of the existing garage. Variances are to reduce the maximum side yards from 13 feet to 10.41 feet, to reduce the minimum east side yard from 5 feet to 0.5 feet, to reduce the building line from 25 feet to 20 feet, and to increase the area devoted to private garage from 720 square feet to 880 square feet. This will include the existing garage and the proposed carport. The site is within the Olentangy West plan. The Olentangy West plan states that housing additions and garages should be compatible with adjacent nearby housing design. In the surrounding area, there are no similar carports, nor have there been any additions which extend this far beyond the existing facades. Therefore, the proposal as presented is not compatible with any adjacent nearby housing designs and is not supported by planning. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments. City staff as a whole is recommending disapproval. As stated in the Olentangy West plan, housing additions and garages should be compatible with adjacent nearby housing design. And again, the proposal as presented is not compatible with the adjacent nearby housing designs, as there are no similar carports, nor have there been any additions which extend this far beyond the existing facades. We're not asking for any conditions, and we'll turn it over to the applicant.
Okay, well, yes, thank you very much for considering. Yeah, I understand that I breaking a lot of variances here, but just simple. I mean, we live in a kind of small house. It's a growing family, and you know, the garage is a very tiny garage that we can barely even fit one car there. And we just purchased a new car, and we're planning purchasing another car, bigger car. So there is no way that garage is going to be of any use. You know, my solution was maybe, you know, building a carport so we can, you know, protect those cars from the environment. And at the same time, you know, we can use the garage for storing some, you know, kids stuff and whatever. So, you know, that's pretty much it, what I have to say.
Are you expanding the driveway or just, or not?
No. I'm not expanding the driveway. I just want to build a carport. It's pretty much going to go, like, I don't know if you guys have a map, but it's going to go halfway to my driveway.
Oh, so the carport is going to extend on the side of the house as well as in the front.
Yes.
And so
Madam Chair, it looks like the driveway has already been extended. I think he already did that, and I don't think he got zoning clearance for it.
Yeah, the driveway was done about 3 or 4 years ago, and I had actually a contractor that I didn't do that by myself. I had a contractor, and the way he told me that he will apply for the license or whatever. So if he did or not, that's you know, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. And what was the, Jamie, what was the vote of the area commission?
This site is not actually within any area commission, so there is no area commission recommendation.
Because this is where?
Olentangy is kind of near Riverside Hospital, off Kenny Road.
Okay. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak about this application? I guess I'm inclined to approve this. I guess I don't see it being demonstrably out of whack. I get that there's nobody else that has this, but there's always a first person that does it, right?
My concern would be just how close it's getting to the street, because it's going to project out if you quite a bit past most of the existing facades out there. So if he was just doing it on the side and part of the front where it would align with the existing part of the house, I think I'd be okay with it. It's just how far it's extending past. I think that's an issue.
Okay, can you put that back on the screen? Can you show me what you're talking about, David?
I'll try.
1 second. I took over for Phil momentarily. Or do you want the aerial up?
No, I think this is good. Can you show where the existing face of the garage is, or the face of the house, and just put a line across where how far it's extending? It looks like it's another 10 to 12 feet past the face of the house.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I can't.
It's actually 22 feet from the face of the garage.
Yeah, but he's talking about from the house.
Right there, yeah,
right here.
that's where I think that's the critical line.
So it's probably about halfway from.
Yep, I would say it's a little over halfway. So that's what I was guessing, around 12 feet maybe.
Other board members, what are your thoughts?
Well, I guess I would ask the applicant if he would be comfortable with that condition that the carport needs to match the front of the house, as Mr. Maleka said.
I don't know when she's here.
Well, Mr. Ludwig, to do that, we can eliminate one of the requested variances. We can reduce the building setback variance, and that would eliminate that section.
Mr. Satorovic, are you fine with that as a alternative to your proposed plans?
So I just understand this. So you were proposing to the face of my house, the very front of the house, that's where the carport stops, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
You know what? I mean, here is the problem. The problem is that, I cannot really park the car then. It's gonna have a car gonna be kind of be uncovered. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's not
so we're
gonna be
fine if you we're fine if you take the carport back further behind the house, but we're not, comfortable with you bringing it forward past the facade or the line of the house in the front.
Okay.
And to me, it looks like you can get a car in the, towards the back, and then you can fit another 2 cars in the front.
Yeah,
even with if it was a 12-foot, I mean.
Yeah, it wouldn't be under a carport though.
Yeah.
But if the carport, I mean, maybe a little bit of it wouldn't be, but I think you're getting most of the value you could get.
A legal parking space is 9 feet wide by 18 feet deep. So even if he moved the carport back to the face of the garage, he would have a code-compliant parking space in the side yard. We would eliminate the variance to reduce the building setback and condition it that it not even extend past the garage. That would give him 2 parking spaces.
2 parking spaces on the side, you're saying?
No, 1 on the side and 1 in the garage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, in that case, in that case, I would probably just build, what's the name? I will just build a carport on the side of the garage. I would not go forward because that place, you know what I mean? That space would not be, I can't use that space. It would be just waste of material. So I would just proceed building the carport just on the side of the house. Is that okay with you guys?
Okay, so we then will vote on the variance to the maximum side yard and the minimum side yard, but not the building line. Is that correct?
Correct. And then I suppose we could also reduce the garage area from, I believe it's it would be code compliant then, because the proposed carport would be 198 feet and the existing garage is 242. So that would be
way less than 720. Okay.
So we'll reduce the garage area and the building setback variances.
Okay, so we're only we will vote to allow a reduction to the maximum side yard and minimum east side yard to allow a carport on the side of the garage, but not in the front of the house. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have a quick question for Jamie. I mean, someone brought it up. I don't know if it was Jamie or somebody else, but if this is his driveway legal right now? I mean, if there's no variance for that driveway, is he going to build this thing and then someone comes out there and cites him for the driveway?
Well, I believe right now it is not legal, but by giving him these variances, it would legalize it. Because you are allowed by right a 10 to 20 foot driveway, and then by reducing the side yards, he can park there. So you're essentially writing what was at one time incorrect.
Okay, that was I was concerned if we had to have another variance for the driveway, or the guy's going to build this thing and have to take it all off because the driveway hasn't been approved. That was my concern.
So valid question. Good question.
Okay. Okay. Do we have any other questions about what we're voting on? Okay, are we ready to call the question?
Call the question.
Question has been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Mr. Welderly?
Yes.
Mr. Demora?
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes, variances granted, 2 variances granted for you to build the side carport.
Thank you very much. And let me just ask you a question about this driveway that it's not legal. I mean, it kind of a little bit upsets me right now because I hired a contractor and he didn't do his job. I mean, that could get me in trouble. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Correct.
So, I mean, do I need to get hold of him or what I need to do?
Well, as Mr. DeMora pointed out, it's currently illegal, but now that you have variances, you'll have to get that approved. It'll be approved when you get your carport approved.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your help.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a good night.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
39 East Hubbard Avenue. 39 East Hubbard Avenue. Will the applicant take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record?
Mike Shannon on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, do you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, nothing but the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay.
Okay,
Go ahead.
39. You ready? 39 East Hubbard Avenue is located at the southeast corner of Hubbard Avenue and Pearl Street. The site is within the Italian Village Commission and Zone C4 Commercial. The applicant proposes a revised development. Well, let me give you some background. The applicant previously proposed the construction of a multifamily apartment residential development on the site. The development proposed 65 dwelling units, a maximum height of 81 feet, and 65 parking spaces. This is combined on-site and off-site within 700 feet. Number of variances and a council variance, ordinance number, or CV 18-031, were granted to permit development of the site as proposed. Those granted variances include permitted uses to allow the AR1 use in the C4 district, which essentially allows first floor residential. Vision clearance variance to a 0-foot clear vision triangle at the intersection of Pearl Alley and Hubbard Avenue, and a setback variance to allow a minimum 0-foot building setback on Hubbard Avenue. The applicant proposes a revised development with 37 dwelling units and 10,890 square feet of office use. The applicant requests a variance to increase the permitted height of a building from 81 feet to 93 feet. Again, the height districts are established as in a 35-foot height district. The maximum height is 35 feet. Again, they did get a variance from council to increase the height from 35 feet to 81 feet previously. So this is essentially a 12-foot height variance. There's no council adopted plan in this area. The site does fall within the Italian Village Architectural Review Commission. The Italian Village Commission recommends approval, and the Division of Traffic Management has no comments. City staff is recommending approval for sites that lie within an Architectural Review Commission area. Staff defers to their recommendation for building design. In this case, an increase in height. The Italian Village Commission recommends approval, therefore staff is recommending approval. We'll turn it over to the applicant.
Okay, Mr. Shannon.
Thanks, Chair Palmer. Jamie, that's an excellent job of rehashing the history. Since this went before council before, I just wanted to briefly comment that this project has literally been years in the making, and part of that was dealing with the Italian Village Park, to which we are contiguous. There were lengthy discussions and negotiations and financial arrangements made with the park to make sure that we'd be a neighbor. That involved not only some construction access easements from the parkland, but contributions on behalf of the wood companies to Italian Village Park for programming that they will subsequently do in the park that you saw contiguous to our site. Since it was originally proposed, as Jamie pointed out, there's been some significant changes. It was proposed to be 65 units of purely residential with variances to accommodate the fact it was in the C4 district. And the parking was accommodated partially on site and partially off site. Since that time, we've reconnoitered. We've reduced the residential units from 65 to 37. And at the same time, we've made it a mixed-use development now that would have over 10,000 square feet of commercial usage. As a consequence of that, obviously the commercial construction entails higher ceilings. The first floor being all commercial, we anticipate it would be in the area of about 20 feet in height. And to alleviate a condition where the site is not fully parked, we have increased the amount of parking that we're going to provide on site to now that we will be providing 57 spaces on site, as opposed to historically it was much less than that. So the end result of coming up with this mixed-use development with the commercial usage as well as the residential use, the addition of additional on-site parking underground that altogether caused this increase in height. And the last thing to note is, I believe when this was originally passed by council, it was prior to the affordable housing requirement, but the applicant has worked in conjunction with the city and will be providing 20% of these units as affordable housing. So again, solely before you this evening is the height variance for the reasons we stated. I should note that our application says statement of hardship. It really, not to be nitpicky, but it's a practical difficulty, our standard here. We think we meet the balancing test there that merits your favorable support, and I'd be happy to address any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions for the applicant? Is there anybody here to speak about this application?
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, it's Bill. I mean,
Go ahead.
I have expressed my concerns to Mr. Shannon, and I'm just going to make them public that, this is a building that's not on High Street, and it's unfair to use the heights on High Street as a comparison when this building is east of High Street by what would be I guess a block, half a block. And, the council voted on one variance, this board voted on other variances, and I wasn't on that board at the time, but as somebody who lives literally down the street, I get concerned how high are these things going to go into the neighborhood? If we're one block and we're this size height, where are we going to be if they want to move another block into the middle of the neighborhood? I just, at some point in time, we've got to make a decision on heights. And like I said, if this was on High Street, I'd have no problem with this because it is smaller than most of the things on High Street, even though I think I voted no on most of the High Street projects as they were. But this isn't on High Street. This is behind what's there on there is a Moxie Hotel. So it's not on High Street. It is, the garage heights on either side of this building are only 51 feet. So this is taller than the garages, which are other structures that, I reluctantly voted for on one of them and didn't participate in the other one. But that's my concern with this. At one point in time, where are we going to stop with building higher buildings in the middle of residential neighborhoods? That's my concern.
Hey, Phil, can you go back to that aerial and show us basically versus High Street where this building is going to be?
It's the park side on Pearl, Mr. Wodelli. 93
Okay,
feet.
I see. Yep, I see. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Madam Chair, may I respond?
Yes, please go ahead.
Mr. Demora, I would have to acknowledge for the record that you're being consistent. I actually prepared this exhibit in hopes of just demonstrating the fact that the wood company has been involved in several of the projects that you see identified here. And in fact, I've been involved in all of them with the exception of the Moxie and the White Castle. And again, the wood projects generally speak for themselves. They all tend to be legacy projects, and this is going to be a terrific enhancement to the Italian Village Park. A lot of time and effort was spent actually years ago to get consensus to make this a good neighbor for the park. And for the reasons I stated previously, we think it meets the practical difficulty standards, and respectfully request that the board acknowledge that in a favorable vote.
Just Tyler, Madam Chairman, Tyler Poole here with the owner of the wood companies.
Swear in.
The testimony you give tonight, you promise that it'll be the truth, nothing but the truth. Please say I do.
I do.
Go ahead.
Part of the programming decision for this was based on when this project was initially announced, there was the old Haiku restaurant there, which was a single-story restaurant that really didn't fit in the neighborhood. And part of the height decisions that went into this were that the Moxie is there now at 132 feet, and there's really no additional shading that we're providing onto the park. So, Mr. Demore, I know you live in the neighborhood, and we've talked at prior meetings. So I understand your concerns, but it's really not, in our opinion, an additional, new building out of nowhere into the neighborhood. It's really an extension of where that Moxie is in a relationship to our building.
Okay.
Can I ask why this went through council variance initially, and what that special variance was for?
Chair Palmer, David, because we had a use variance to allow the AR1 use in the C4 district, it was required to go to City Council. And then the area variances are companion variances that go into the master document. So that's why it all went to City Council the first time.
Okay.
And this time we have only an area variance, i.e. the height. There is no use variance.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'll ask one question to Mike then. Couldn't you have done that all through city council?
We did. At that time, we got the heights approved at 80, I think it was 82 feet. I apologize. I'm not looking at my notes. So that was part of the 81 feet. That was part of the package of things that were approved by city council. Since that time, since we changed the programming, added parking, gone to a mixed use and adding commercial office space, that necessitates the height increase. We talked to staff whether it was an option to go back to city council for a council variance, and they said no, because we had already established the residential use on the first floor.
Okay.
There's
No,
another
I got you. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. Thank you.
And part of, just piggybacking off that, part of the history here is that the wood companies recently bought out a partner in this project because we wanted to make larger investments into the facade and architectural investment. That, we're not sellers in the neighborhood, so we want these things to be here for 100 years. So that was part of, if we're making that investment, we'd like to have the additional height as well.
Good. Okay, if there's no other questions, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call a question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Baldelli,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
No.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance to granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much.
574 and 582 Dutch Alley. Will the applicant take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record?
Nate Melman.
Hello, how are you, Mr. Melman? Can you
Hi,
raise your
good.
hand? You promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, nothing but the truth. Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll hear from the city and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 574 and 582 Dutch Alley is located on the east side of Dutch Alley, approximately 75 feet north of Jackson Street, served by the Columbus Southside Area Commission, zoned R2F. The site is undeveloped and includes light vegetation and several mature trees. Surrounding uses include single unit dwellings to the west and east, a car rental business and parking lot to the north, and a 2-unit dwelling to the south. The applicant proposes to split the lot and construct 2 single-unit dwellings connected by a breezeway. Variances are to allow the maneuvering areas for both properties to cross the property line, to reduce both minimum lot widths from 50 feet to 37.4, to reduce the minimum lot areas from 6,000 feet to 1,871 square feet, to allow both dwellings to front on the alley, to reduce the maximum side yards from 7.5 feet to 3.5, to reduce minimum side yards from 5 feet 10 inches to 3.5 feet on the exterior side yards and 0 feet on the interior side yards because of the connection, and to reduce the rear yards from 25% to 6%. In April 2019, the current parcel received council variance approval, CV 18051, to allow 2 single-unit dwellings on 1 lot. The application included variances to lot area, fronting, maximum and minimum side yards, and rear yard. 5 out of the 7 code sections being varied in this application. The south side plan recommends medium-high density residential for the site, which is consistent with the proposal. The south side plan and C2P2 recommend that the design and character of new housing be compatible with adjacent nearby housing with respect to height, width, and setback. Furthermore, the plans recommend open space, screening between residential and non-residential uses, street trees be provided, and that mature trees be preserved whenever possible. The revised site plan addresses staff comments regarding western parking space removal for additional street trees, permeable pavers, buffering on the north property line and walkways to the front doors. The revised building elevations are also consistent with C2P2 design guidelines. And I'd like to add that we did receive revisions from the current elevations to new elevations that have been signed off on by Planning Division, just increasing the height of the structure by a couple feet. And I can show those revised elevations here in a minute. No comments from traffic management, and Columbus Southside recommended approval of the request. City departments recommend approval as the site plan and building elevations are consistent with area plan and C2P2 design guidelines, which recommend compatibility with nearby housing, open space, preserving trees, and screening against non-residential uses. We recommend that the condition that the applicant commit to the stamped building elevations and site plan showing the screening fence, additional landscaping with regard to front yard and permeable pavement for the maneuvering area. And let me just pull up the revised building elevations, which are only changed slightly. So only the height has increased, but no variances affected by the revision.
Okay. Are you done?
Madam Chair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Melman, anything to add to this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, nothing much to add, given that I have Southside Area Commission approval, recommendation for approval, and city staff recommendation for approval. As noted, I did get essentially the same project approved by City Council 2 years ago. But given that there was an issue with bringing sewage to the sewer line to the lot, I wasn't allowed to use the one that was down Dutch Alley for a number of reasons. I'm going to have to incur significant costs bringing in a new new sewer line east down Bleckner to Washington, about 200 feet of sewer line. And that necessitated a request for the BZA so that I could do a lot split and increase the valuation of the two homes. I've had this lot for almost 20 years. Just had a little bit of extra time the last couple of years to start developing it. So that's the reason for doing it now. Appreciate your consideration. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Is there anybody here to speak about this application?
Madam Chair, just
Sorry.
like to add into the record, we did receive 2 letters of non-support, one of which I can pull them up, but one of which we didn't receive an address for, so I wasn't able to legitimize it.
Okay. And their non-support was because of what?
The one that did include an address actually had no reasoning provided. It just said non-support for rezoning, but I explained it was not a rezoning. That was all.
Okay. Okay. Okay, any questions for the applicant?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Wildelli,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Jones is now absent. Just wanted to make sure.
I'm here and I vote yes.
Still here.
Okay. Mr. Demora
Yes.
and Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
440 East Deschler Avenue. 440 East Deschler Avenue. Would the applicant please take yourself off of mute? State your name for the record.
Jason Slagle.
Hello, Mr. Slagle. Can you raise your right hand? You promise that the testimony you give tonight be the truth, nothing but the truth. Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll hear from the city, then we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chair Palmer. 440 East Deschler Avenue is located on the north side of East Deschler, approximately 70 feet east of Washington Avenue. The site is within the Columbus Southside Area Commission and zoned R2F residential. The site is developed with a single-unit dwelling in a residential neighborhood. The applicant proposes to demolish a portion of the existing dwelling, approximately 1/3 of the rear, and replace it with a two-story addition, as well as construct a new detached two-car garage. Columbus citywide planning policies recommend the design and character of additions be appropriate based on the principal and nearby structures in terms of height, width, setback, lot coverage, roof pitch, etc. Elevations requested will be used to ensure the proposed addition is consistent with plan recommendations. Additionally, planning recommends the applicant consider adding a tree to their yard. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and as of the writing of this report, I did not receive a recommendation from the Columbus Southside Area Commission. Perhaps the applicant can speak to that. City staff can recommend approval as the proposal is consistent with C2P2 guidelines, in that the proposed design and character of the addition and garage are appropriate based on the principal and nearby structures in terms of height, width, setbacks, and lot coverage. Staff is requesting the applicant provide a tree in the rear yard, and with that, we'll turn it back over to the applicant, or to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. Slagle, do you agree with the conditions? Were those conditions, Jamie?
That the applicant add a tree to the rear yard.
Okay. Do you agree with the condition?
This is the first I've heard of that condition, and I don't understand why there are several mature trees in the backyard.
Okay, well, I believe planning was looking at the site plan, and I don't see any trees listed on the site plan.
Aha. We can have those added to the site plan. I didn't realize that was not there, but yeah, there are several very large mature trees in the rear yard.
Well, Madam Chair, if Mr. Slagle is going on the record as saying that there are existing trees, then
actually, if you can back up, I think you can.
Can you go back, Phil?
There you can see one, two, three, at least three large trees.
Yeah, I believe the condition has then been met.
Okay. Okay.
If Mr. Slagle could speak to the Area Commission recommendation, I did not receive that.
I believe I did, but I did not know you didn't have it. So I would have to go back and look, but I'm fairly certain that we did get approval from the Area Commission, but I would have to search for it.
You did present in front of them?
You can just state for the record what the recommendation was. That would suffice.
They recommended in favor, as I recall.
Okay.
Do we have elevations? What this going to look like?
I have them if you don't.
Yeah, I thought I had them. Let me check my folder so I can share it. Thought I added them into the Yeah, I'm not seeing that I ever got any elevations, just the site plan. If you can share them, that'd be great.
Yeah. Plans rough elevations. Here we go. Let me figure out how to do this. It's going to be a first for me.
Jason, if you go up to the share button, it should be just a drop down share content along the top.
I'm a contractor. I'm not much for Zoom meetings or whatever we have here. So, all right. First attempt is a big fail. Oh, okay. I think I understand now. Hang on one second.
There's file, edit, and then share.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, are you seeing that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So these are, so top right is from the rear, bottom right is from the front, shows the existing facade.
And do you have a garage elevation?
Good question. I don't think, oh wait, maybe we do. Yes, yes, we do. Did that just come up on your screen?
Yep, I can see it now,
Okay,
yeah.
good. The garage is
Mr.
very
Maleka,
basic.
Yeah.
There you
Did
go.
you want him to go back to the actual drawings? There's no variances for the garage. I was just curious if you had one.
Yes. Let's see here. Okay, elevations. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Maleka, do you have specific questions about this?
No, I just wanted to make sure there was something that we were approving.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant? Is there anyone here to speak about this application? Okay. If there's no questions, are you ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones. Now is he gone?
He's now gone.
Okay. Mr. Maleka.
Yes.
Mr. Wildelli.
Yes.
Mr. Demora.
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you all.
111 West Dundon Road.
Yes.
With the
Michael
applicant. Go ahead. State your name again, sir.
Michael Reed.
Okay. Do you promise that the testimony gets nothing but the truth and nothing but the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll hear from the city, then we'll come back to you.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Reeves, real quick, can you just tell me how to pronounce the name of your street? Because I've heard several.
Yeah, Dunedin.
Okay. All right. 111 West Dunedin Road, located on the south side of Dunedin Road, approximately 205 feet east of Milton Avenue, within the Clintonville Area Commission and Zone R3 residential district. The site consists of a single parcel and is developed with a single unit dwelling and detached two-car garage. Surrounding the site are single unit dwellings. The applicant proposes to alter the existing detached garage and requests a variance to increase the allowable height for storage and a higher roof pitch to match the architectural character of the residence. Variances to maintain a reduced side yard setback for the dwelling and garage are also included. Planning is supportive of the request. The Clintonville area plan states that garage height should be permitted to exceed the maximum height allowable by code if it is architecturally compatible with the primary house. The proposed elevations are compatible with the architecture of the main house and nearby home designs. The Division of Traffic Management has no comment regarding this application. The Clintonville Area Commission recommends approval of this request. City departments can recommend approval. The purpose of Columbus City Code 3332.38 is to allow private garages in residential districts that are consistent with the scale and character of residential uses and buildings. The proposed garage is consistent with the size of the lot the existing single unit dwelling and the provisions of the Clintonville neighborhood plan. And staff would condition the recommendation of approval upon the elevations provided. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Mr. Reeves, do you agree with the conditions set forth by the city?
I do.
Okay, do you have anything else to add about the project?
I just want to add that we do have a signed and notarized access easement with our neighbor. We have a 0-foot setback that is signed and notarized and ready to be recorded at the recorder's office. Once the variance is approved, we didn't want to record it prior, just in case it didn't get approved. We didn't want to encumber their property until that was approved.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak about this application? Do we have any other questions for the applicant?
Just to note, let's add that the access easement or maintenance agreement will be recorded as another condition.
Okay. Are you ready to call the question with the conditions?
I'll call the question with the conditions.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Wadelli,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
5455 North High Street. The applicant, please take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record.
Mr. White. Jamie, can you unmute Russ White?
Sure. The question been sent. I'm sure there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. Please state your name for the record.
Russ White.
Okay, can you raise your hand and promise that the testimony you give tonight be the truth, nothing but the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll hear from the city first and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. This is 5455 North High Street, located at the southwest corner of North High Street and Cemetery Drive, and within the Clintonville Area Commission and Zone C4 Commercial District. The site is currently developed with an office building. Surrounding uses are predominantly commercial along the High Street corridor, with multi-unit residential developments located to the west. The site is also located within the boundaries of the North High Street Community Commercial Overlay. The applicant proposes to raise the existing development and construct a grocery store on the site. Variances are requested to reduce the number of parking lot trees and diverge from community commercial overlay standards, thus increasing the building setbacks from North High Street and interior lot lines, reducing the parking setback along North High Street, reducing the minimum width of the building, not locating the dumpster behind the building, and allowing parking and circulation between the building and right-of-way. Planning does not support this proposal as presented. The Clintonville neighborhood plan states new commercial development should abide by any existing overlays. The proposal is within the community commercial overlay district, and variances to its standards regarding setbacks and parking and circulation are not supported. Planning would reconsider support for a revised proposal that moves the building closer to High Street and places parking to the side or rear, consistent with plan design guidelines stating parking be hidden to the greatest extent possible. The Division of Traffic Management cannot support the proposal until a traffic access study is approved associated with an access and site configuration that can be supported. The Clintonville Area Commission recommends approval of this request, and they provided the most comprehensive recommendation that I've seen. City departments recommend disapproval. Staff recommends disapproval of the current site configuration as it does not comply with the guidelines of the community commercial overlay, nor has the evaluation of the traffic access study been completed by the Division of Traffic Management. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, can we hear from the traffic about this traffic study? Is that in progress or is that a requirement for this site?
Yeah, the traffic study would be a requirement for this site. It's currently in our queue. We have 30 days to review the traffic study. I think we have 14 more days left in our review and 2 ahead in the queue.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so staff, can you speak more to me about why the disapproval, because of the overlay?
Yeah, so they've requested variances to not put the building along High Street and hide the parking. Thus, they're asking to, keep the building set back, kind of what you would call like traditional development, not CCO, community commercial overlay development. And then I think those are the two big ones.
Put the site plan back up for me, please. Okay, so you're saying the building should be up against High Street and the parking should be in the back?
Yeah, if it was built to CCO standards.
Okay.
Sometimes planning will make considerations if they move the building closer to the street and, reconfigure the parking a little bit, but it looks like this building is, as far away as it can be.
Okay. Mr. White, can you speak to these things?
I can, and thank you for the time. We've been looking in the North High Street market for quite a while. When this parcel became available, I was quick to make contact with the current owner and get this in contract for our potential development. Probably within a week, we touched base with the area commission. Once we learned it was in the overlay district, and I met BJ White. I just want to be on the record, we're not related. Our last name's both White. I've been asked by BJ to clarify that a few times at the variance and commission meetings. So I did work with BJ on this project through numerous meetings with neighbors, including the rabbit rescue to the north, conversations with people that have joined the meetings with the cemetery owner or someone who represents the cemetery directly that were up against the cemetery drive. Everyone's been in favor of our layout thus far, but I want to just state, when we first started on this project, we looked at reusing the existing building. I'll keep this real brief. There's quite a few issues with that. The current structure is it's larger than what we are going to build. Additionally, the existing structure is the height of it is not appropriate for a grocery store. Also, we could not get a truck into or out of the property with the building up on the road and while maintaining appropriate parking for a customer experience at a grocery store. Once we started looking at the site plan and exhausting other options of cross easements with the property to the south, who is laid out more like traditional retailer with the building not right up on the road. We ran into some utility issues with that, as well as some mounding, and then just the legality of getting through a landlord and CVS lessee. So we came up with the layout that we have. We had to keep the orientation as shown. We couldn't put it on the south side of the property because there's a major utility easement running along the south property line, right just a little bit south of where our building is shown. So we ended up putting it to the back. Also putting it in the orientation we have, it keeps the activity of the parking lot as far away from the apartment complex in the rear as possible, which I know that was important both to when we went through the BZA and the Clintonville Commission, both of which unanimously approved this plan. Not to say they approved it on day one. We've made a lot of accommodations and modifications to not only landscaping, screening, both screening of parking lot screening and screening of our rooftop units, added building features on pretty much all 4 sides of the building to break up the brick We've also adjusted the sidewalk a couple times at the request of the city, and made quite a few others. Those are just the ones off the top of my head. So through those conversations, and we've had extremely positive feedback from, I'll let BJ talk a little bit more of what her constituents commented on once it's appropriate. But we were also, on our initial site plan, we were asking for 2 full curb cuts, which I believe is what is currently on the property. After receiving some feedback that the city was only hoping to keep this at 1 full curb cut, we looked at it that way. The issue we're going to run into is when a truck is leaving the dock, it would have to then head south, so it would be running down the shaded in area across the front of my store. And when it turned back to the east to get onto High Street, there's potential that the rear of the trailer could be blocking incoming traffic. So I'm looking at solutions. We conceded the full curb cut on the north end to only make that be a right out curb cut. Now, I'm sure some customers will leave that way, but the predominant reason for that curb cut is to safely get my truck off the property without blocking incoming traffic who could then potentially stack up onto High Street. So that's my real quick overview of where we started this project a long time ago. We've had very productive meetings with the commission, the BZA, city residents, community residents there in Clintonville. And yeah, so I'll answer questions or whatever you need.
So it sounds, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that if you cannot utilize this as a grocery store, which needs the truck access, by putting the building up against the street.
If we put the building up against the street, I cannot get a truck into and out of the property and maintain an appropriate amount of parking spaces. And if you can't find a parking space, you don't go to a store. I mean, it's grocery stores. Right. If you can't find a parking space, you're not going to go there. That's a turnoff for a customer in a shopping experience.
Okay. It also sounds like the orientation or the placement of the parking spaces is going to be dependent on the curb cut issue. Is that correct?
Well, the 2 curb, the 1 and I'll call it 1 1/4. We're showing a full curb cut there at the southeast corner, and then the one at the northeast corner. Originally, that was a full curb cut, but after receiving some initial feedback from staff, we conceded. We agreed to make that a right out only.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, without traffic opining on that may change, right?
We turned in our traffic impact study approximately 2 weeks ago, and I don't want to. I think Jean is on here. If she is, she can chime in now. She wrote the report with Manic Smith. She's a traffic engineer.
Hi, this is Jean Hartline. Do you have to swear me in?
Yes, please. Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight is the truth, nothing but the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So I performed the traffic study. These type of smaller grocery stores are small traffic generators. It only is generating in a peak hour 200 vehicles in and out. So that'd be 100 customers coming in, 100 customers going out, hence the 200 trips. Tim Hortons across the street generates just about that much traffic in the hour in the morning on a much smaller site. So it's not your super mega stores that are 150,000 square feet that are selling everything from sofas to flowers and everything else. So I just wanted to make sure that there was that understanding. The focus that the City Traffic Engineering Administration gave us was to really look at how these driveways interact on North High Street, especially with the high number of driveways across the street, that being 2 for Tim Hortons, 1 for the Enterprise, and 2 on High Street for the crematorium. And in that evaluation, we found that the driveways could coexist together and left turns could occur within the center left turn lane without basically having an interlock on the roadway. We also looked at the what we call the quarter driveway, which is a truck exit. Since there's no left turns going into that drive, its impacts on High Street are very, very negligible. It's only a right turn out, and even the right turn out wouldn't have any kind of conflicts with left turns into the existing businesses across the street. So that was really kind of the crux of the study. I didn't find anything from a traffic engineering standpoint that would say that right out created any kind of level of service, safety issue, left turn interlock issue. And that's what we concluded in the report.
I have a couple questions. How does a truck, what type of trucks are delivered here? Are they semis?
Correct. Yes, sir.
So how are they getting in? How are they getting into the dock?
They would come in, the shaded area there is the heavy duty asphalt. That is what is heavy duty for the truck. It's a little thicker than your normal asphalt. So
Yep.
they come in down there on the southeast corner, and then they drive up in front of the store on the shaded in area, and then they turn right again to nose back toward High Street, and then they back into the dock. And the dock is a recessed truck dock down in the ground, which it screens pretty much that. Yes, there it is.
So that's pretty tight stuff, though, isn't it?
We do run a full on every one of our sites. Ken White, he's my engineer. He's on the call as well, and we run a full we run a full truck. He knows the fancy terms. A full truck turn radius diagram on these, and it works. That's why we have kind of that pork chop looking island there with the just up there where the truck would turn right to nose before it noses in. So it complies. This accommodates our truck.
Okay. My other question is on the south side. I'm going to go park on the south side of the building, and I don't find a space. Are they backing all the way out? There's no turnaround down there.
Correct. That drive aisle is 25 foot wide, so they would either have to back up, and they could turn around where the hatched-in area is to the right of those 6 or 13 that are up against the building, or whatever, however many those are.
I mean, my gut reaction is this is a really tough site plan. I mean, I understand your constraints, but man, that's to get in that dead end parking down there. I mean, your trucks are one thing, but
well, I'll be honest. Until recently, we've been building spaces with 70 to 75 parking spaces, and I haven't had significant concerns with that. Our corporate guidelines are now about 90 spaces. Between 90 spaces would be ideal. So this is a little light of that.
Yeah.
I've never had in situations where I've had this many parking spaces, I haven't had issues, any significant issues, other than grand opening day. Grand opening days are, well, not with COVID, but before COVID, grand opening days were crazy. When we did the advertising and all the crazy stuff, we gave customers stuff when they came on the first day. Other than grand opening day, I've never had a problem in my 15 and a half years of doing this with a project that has this many parking spaces.
and I'm assuming they don't want you dumping out on Cemetery Drive.
That's a private drive, and I looked at every option at the request of the CAC, and no, we can't do that. It's a very narrow, I don't want to guess, it's probably 8 to 10 feet wide, and there's some extremely old stone walls out on High Street. It doesn't work.
Is there anybody here to speak about this application?
Chair Palmer, Bailey, I guess Brandon here again.
Yeah.
Want to reiterate that we haven't approved the study. You know, at the probably the disagreement of the applicant. I mean, there's still the conversation of one access versus two is still on the table. Just being clear cut with our division. So just because we're in receipt of the study, I don't want you to be swayed one way or another that this access configuration is what the final determination is from our department.
So Jamie, help me out with this because it seems like we be making a decision premature of that.
I mean, this is Michael's case. Michael, do you want to address that?
So if you were to approve it and the accesses didn't work and they had to redo their site plan, the variances might not match up with what comes in the future. So they'd have to go back through the process potentially.
Hey, Madam Chair, this is Eric. Should we at least consider tabling this item until some of those, I guess, checklists are done, traffic study, et cetera?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, Michael, why this is before us before that has been completed.
The applicant can request to be heard. You would have to ask him. I voiced my concerns about traffic not being completed.
Okay, Mr. White, can you speak to that?
I must have misunderstood, and I apologize if I did. I was under the impression that if we turned the traffic study in by the date that was asked for, that it wouldn't be an issue at this meeting, but I must have misunderstood or not heard that. So I apologize for that, but I would be okay if you guys would consider approving the variances based on the coming to the final design with the traffic engineering. If there's no significant change to the site plan, it would be approved. If there is a change, then we would come back next month. But I apologize. I didn't know. That's why I kind of paid I paid more to get the study done in time for this meeting.
I will note that we're not committing them to this site plan because it asks for so many variances from the CCO. If they changed it and made it more compliant, we wouldn't want to hold them back by committing to a site plan.
I'll be honest. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'll be honest. If we can't have the second curb cut at all, it's probably going to kill my site, because I can't build a store where I'm creating, in my mind, an issue where a truck is going to keep people from turning in and there's an accident. When I originally got this approved internally, just internally in Aldi, I got it approved with a full curb cut. And after talking to my committee, we said, well, as long as we can get a truck out safely, we can live with 1 1/4. So that's where the idea, and I think I voiced that over the phone, and that's where we came up with the idea of the shown access points. But yeah, I apologize. I didn't know I didn't know this would potentially be tabled until a little bit ago.
Madam Chair, this is Bill. I'm with Mr. Weldy about very hesitant to vote on something without having traffic's approval. And I would consider, Mr. White, that if 2 of us aren't comfortable with this and you need 3 votes, that you might want to table it.
Yeah. And I would strongly suggest that as well to the applicant.
Understood. And I would like to ask for it to be tabled pending traffic's review.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to table.
There's a motion.
All
Second.
right.
Motion's been seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Welderly,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes. Project is tabled. We will hear back from you when you hear from traffic.
If you guys
I'll,
don't
hopefully talk to you all next month.
Okay.
if you guys don't mind, just potentially discussing the variances to the CCO. Are there any issues with that in your guys' mind for him if he's delaying a month?
Could I ask, BJ White's got her hand up, I can see her on my screen. Could she talk now on behalf of them?
I guess my thing about the overlay is I need to hear from the city how strong we are to adhere to that.
All I can give you on that is planning's comments. So
When I looked at the neighborhood, and it's fairly inconsistent with meeting the guidelines. That's part of the reason I was willing to bend a bit, but if you look at the up and down the street, no one's really complying. So I'd be open to it. I'm most concerned about the traffic and the movement of cars on the property. So I think I'm looking to that report.
okay, I just wanted to assist the applicant and make sure that if they are delaying a month, that they don't need to be working on anything else. So
Good call. Okay, we will hear back from you next month then.
Thank you.
Okay. 8050 and 8090 Olentangy River Road.
How's it going?
Are you the applicant?
Correct.
Okay, state your name for the record, please.
Austin Poa and my wife Marissa joined as well.
Okay, can you both raise your right hand? And do you promise to tell the truth? I think what the truth, please say I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay. We'll hear from the city first, then we'll come back to you guys.
It's been a long time since I've had to say that with my husband.
Oh, nice. Like we facilitated your vow renewal ceremony right here tonight.
Do we have a recording of this for the future?
We do.
Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 8050 and 8090 Olentangy River Road is located at the southeast corner of Olentangy Road and Old Woods Road, served by the Far Northwest Coalition, zoned R Rural. The 2.1 acre site is made up of two parcels, one larger developed with a single unit dwelling and one smaller that is undeveloped. Both properties, controlled by the same owner, are adjacent to the Olentangy River and are substantially wooded. Surrounding uses include single unit dwellings to the west and north, a wooded area of High Banks Metro Park to the east, and condominiums to the south. The applicant proposes to move the existing lot line and construct a new single unit dwelling on the smaller lot. Variances are to reduce the southern lot's parking setback from 25 feet to 12 feet, to reduce the lot areas from 5 acres to 1.49 and 0.59 acres for the larger and smaller lots respectively, and to reduce the southern lot's front building setback from 47.5 feet to 45 feet. The Northwest plan states that parking should be balanced with the goal of reducing development's impact on the natural environment. Additionally, sensitive site design and other design approaches should be used to preserve open space, natural resources, and other ecologically sensitive areas. Planning Division is fully supportive of the revised site plan that shows the partial use of permeable pavers. No comments from traffic, and the Far Northwest Coalition recommended approval of the request. City departments recommend approval as the proposal is consistent with the area plan, which recommends parking be balanced with the goal of reducing development's impact on the natural environment. The proposal meets design guidelines that encourage green technologies in parking areas to manage stormwater runoff. And we recommend the condition that the applicant commit to the stamped site plan. Madam Chair.
Okay, do you agree with the condition that this is the final site plan?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Is there gonna be a lot split on this, or is it already two different lots?
So it's already two different lots.
Okay.
So actually, my parents own both lots, and they gave us the land 2 Christmases ago, and we're 1 year past our expiration date to build on it for their coupon. So yeah, we're just going to move the property line to the natural boundary. There's a little like ditch just to the north. So we're going to, and I forget how many feet it's moving.
Okay.
You can see it on that right area. Yeah, right there.
Okay. Okay, so it's already 2 different lots. You're just changing the lines.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And then, you know, I've gone through the paces with city engineering. There's not city sanitary to this location. You know, the Mount Air condos to the south are on their own pump station and whatnot. And my parents' house to the north is on a septic system. So I've been working with Adam Holbrook and the Ohio EPA and whatnot to design that a new peat pod septic system. So, you know, due to the site constraints, trying to, you know, show the bike path on there, get the biofilter septic system on there. You know, we're maintaining the proper, you know, building setbacks, but it's just, yeah, just the parking, and obviously it's not 5 acres per the rural guidelines.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak about this application? Board members, do we have any other questions for the applicant?
No, it looks good.
It's no David Maleka design, but it's an Austin Poe design.
It's good enough by me.
I'll call the question.
Question has been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Welderly,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Good luck with the project.
Does anyone have any money laying around that they can send my way?
See, now you're going too far, Mr. Poole.
All right, thanks.
You have to add Mr. Negron.
Yeah, right, exactly. Thank you, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
7400 Worthington Galena Road. Will the applicant take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record? I see you talking, Mr. Jolly, but I think you're on mute.
Hi, Chris Jolly with Darren Ranker Architects.
Okay, can you raise your right hand? Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight be the truth, nothing but the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll hear from the city first, then we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 7400 Worthington Galena Road is located at the southern corner of Worthington Galena Road and Dearborn Drive, served by the Far North Columbus Communities Coalition, and it's zoned M1 manufacturing. The 22-acre site is developed with a warehouse, offices, and associated parking lots. The main visitor and truck access is off Worthington Galena Road. The secondary access, which is for employees only, is off Dearborn Drive. Surrounding uses include warehouses to the west and northeast, a church building to the northwest, manufacturing and assembly to the northwest, north and east, and an industrial research facility and Anheuser-Busch's processing plant to the south across 270. The applicant proposes to construct an industrialized guard booth for visitor passenger vehicles at the main entrance. There is an existing guard booth that will grant commercial vehicle access to the site, whereas the proposed booth will be dedicated to passenger vehicles only. The applicant also proposes to add landscaping along Worthington Galena. The variance is to reduce the front building setback along Worthington Galena from 200 feet to 117 feet. The Far North Area Plan recommends a special focus on landscaping and screening within the site area. After receiving additional landscaping information, Planning Division is in full support of the proposal and notes that the planting of additional street trees along Worthington Galena consistent with plan design guidelines. The coalition recommended approval of the request, and city departments recommend approval as the proposal is consistent with the area plan, recommending special focus on landscaping and screening within the site area. Additionally, the intent of the zoning requirement would be observed as the variance would only apply to the guard booth. It would also not appear that the essential character of the neighborhood would be altered. And we recommend the conditions that the applicant commit to the planting of additional street trees along Worthington Galena as shown on the stamped site plan, and that the variance should only apply to the guard booth shown on the site plan, Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. Jolly, do you agree with the conditions set forth by the city?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add about the project?
Just to reiterate, it was already stated basically that this will be primarily for, or will only be for passenger vehicle traffic. Commercial traffic will continue to utilize the existing guard booth. And this will primarily be for visitors and occasional employee entrance as well. And it'll be an entry only, and the exit will continue to be out of the Dearborn access drive.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak about this property, this application? Okay, do we have any other questions for the applicant?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Weldley,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
421 Rathmore Road. Are we still hearing that one?
That was tabled.
That one's tabled. Okay. 399 Hall Road. 399 Hall Road. The applicant, please take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record.
Is it in? Oh, can everyone see me? Hi, Chairwoman Bailey. This is Laura Comack here on behalf of the owner, Columbus Limestone.
Okay, do you promise that the testimony you give tonight with the truth, nothing but the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll hear from the city first, and we'll come back to you.
Okay, 399 Hall Road is located at the terminus of Hall Road, south of Frank Road. The site is zoned EQ, Excavating and Quarry District, and is located within the Far South Columbus Area Commission. The 228-acre site is located south of Frank Road on the west side of the Scioto River. The site has been historically operated as a sand and gravel quarry with associated businesses and operational activities since the early 1900s. In 2009, the owner worked with the City of Columbus to relocate the city's impound lot to a 54.22-acre area of the quarry known as the city parcel. A council variance was passed for the entire site with impound lot and storage uses. Thereafter, the property was conveyed to the city, and the impound lot was officially relocated to the city parcel. In addition to the excavating and quarry and associated legal uses on site, the owner would like to, or is seeking a council variance to allow automotive storage for nearby automotive auction and other businesses. The auto storage would involve a small office portable trailer building for which the applicant is seeking a special permit from the Board of Zoning Adjustment. As you know, a portable building requires a special permit and can be located in any zoning district for any use on private property. The Scioto Southland Plan and Columbus Citywide Planning Policies do not address special permits for portable buildings, and the Division of Traffic Management has no comments. The Far South Columbus Area Commission recommends approval of this request. As does staff, staff can recommend approval with the following condition: that the portable building will be located on the portion of the site being utilized for automobile storage. And with that, we'll turn it back over to you, Chair Palmer.
No conditions, right, Jamie?
The condition is that the portable building will be located on the portion of the site being utilized for the automobile storage.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Okay. Okay, Ms. Comack, do you agree with the condition?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add to the application?
No, thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Is there anyone here to speak about this application?
Call the question.
Okay.
Mr. Weldley.
I'm sorry. I did have a question about the length of the portable building. How long did you want it for?
For as long as the area is used for the vehicle storage.
So this is a permanent portable building.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought maybe it was temporary, but it's not. Okay, that's fine.
Could add one more word to it. Temporary portable office trailer construction center. Yes.
Right. Okay. Okay, question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Weatherly,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, special permit granted. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a good night, guys.
1219 Oak Street, 1219 Oak Street. Will the applicant please take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record?
Yes, Brian Arts here on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, can you raise your right hand and promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, nothing but the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll hear from the city and then we'll come back to you.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. 1219 Oak Street. The site is located on the south side of Oak Street, approximately 310 feet west of Wilson Avenue. The site is within the Near East Area Commission and zoned ARLD, apartment residential low density. The site is currently undeveloped within the residential neighborhood, and the surrounding uses consist of a mixture of single and multi-unit dwellings. The applicant proposes to construct a 2-unit dwelling between 2 single-unit dwellings and requests variances to reduce the lot area for a 2-story, 2-unit dwelling from 6,000 square feet, which would be 3,000 per dwelling, to 4,247 square feet, to allow side steps to encroach into the required side yard, to reduce the number of required parking spaces from 4 to 2, to reduce the total required side yards from 20% to 19.35%, which would be from 6.2 feet to 6 feet, and to reduce the minimum required side yards from 5.83 feet to 1 foot. The Near East plan states that overall goal for incorporating new construction into the neighborhood is compatibility, meaning the existing homes will be used to determine the appropriate height, massing, scale, materials, porches, roof pitch, setbacks, and window and door proportions for the new construction. Planning generally supports this request and supports the elevations as presented. Phil, I believe the next page has elevations. Nope. All right. I guess I got those after you already downloaded your report. I'll bring those up. Okay, planning generally supports this request and supports the elevations as presented, but requests revisions to the site plan as staff does not support the elimination of the rear yard and required tree. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Near East Area Commission recommends approval of this request. Staff can recommend approval as the proposal is compatible with existing residential uses directly adjacent to the parcel, and I believe I can bring up the elevation drawing I just received. Oh, and I do want to note there was an email from Clint Hall-Jones, who wrote in opposition, and board members, I believe I sent you the email earlier today. Mr. Arts, I think you have a copy of that email as well.
Yes.
All right, give me 1 second here. All right, can you guys see this elevation drawing?
Yes.
It's a more of a rendering. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. And with that, we'll turn it back over to you, Chair Palmer.
So this doesn't look anything like the other houses beside it.
I agree.
So Mr. Arts, go ahead.
Yes. As we stated, this is a 2-family home, which is clearly permissible within the ALRD district. And because the building is located within 2 existing structures, the architect has taken a lot of care to make sure that the other adjoining properties are taken into account with regard to privacy and security concerns. You'll note that the subject property is the same height as the house on the right beside it, and the the variances that are required in this instance are the typical ones that would be required in an older neighborhood like this, where the lots are long and narrow, not very wide. And the Near East Area Commission did approve this. There were, I think, a total of 5 different meetings, and they did approve the project unanimously, 12 to 0. And I would be happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
So this is, Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So as the chair stated, this doesn't look anything like the house on either side. And my question is, if you build, so what is the hardship? You could have built a single family home here, but you're building a 2-family home and you need a hardship for zoning variances like this. So I don't understand where the hardship is, knowing how thin this lot was, why you couldn't build a single family home there.
Well, a single family home could have been built there, but because of the size of the existing structures beside it, it seemed appropriate to try to expand that and make it a 2-family. Again, this is an ALRD district, so it seemed appropriate with the zoning code.
That didn't answer my question. What's the hardship? You could have built a family home, but you're choosing not to.
Well, I think the applicant was wanting to maximize the use of the lot.
Maximize use means make money, but that's not hardship. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay.
So I was looking at the aesthetics of the neighborhood. So I'm kind of on Google Maps here, which is so convenient. So I'm going to share a little bit. You're seeing now, if you look down the street, I mean, that typology is, and here, basically within a block of these 2 homes, flat roofs, brick details. I don't think this is inconsistent, even looking at that. I think it works. I mean, I think the question, is what Bill said, is it, is the variance appropriate? I think the architecture is, I guess that's where I'm at.
Yeah, Jamie, do we have any lawyers on the phone that can explain that hardship requirement from a code standpoint?
I mean, I can bring up, we don't have the city attorney, if that's what you mean, but I can bring up the application form and you can read what it says.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Oops.
Yep, I understand that. Thank you.
Sure.
I don't know if anybody else is still reading, but I'm good.
Sorry about that.
Okay, do we have any other questions? I'm sorry, is anybody here to speak to this application?
Yes, I am. I'm the applicant, Shay Wilson.
Okay, go ahead. Can you, do you promise that the testimony you give is the truth, nothing but the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Hey, Brian, do you have the actual site drawings? Rather than that rendering you showed is just a cheap pixelated rendering. If you could show the site drawings, Brian, if you have them.
Yeah,
I've got them.
yeah, city has
Go ahead and share that, please. This is zone multifamily, so we're doing it for its intended use. The property to the right of it, which is the blue home, was previously a duplex as well. It was, duplexes were on top of each other, and they changed it and converted it into a single family. So we're using the use of this property. We got a change of from single family to multifamily. It was already multifamily there. So we're just using the use that we bought it for on the site. There you go. So that's a better showing of what it's going to look like. The other one was just a pixelated display. This is much better there.
So it's a 3-story?
Correct. Yes. And the back has a garage for each unit as well on there.
And Shay, if I could just add on here, when you purchased the property,
yes, sir,
you knew that it was ALRD and that you potentially could have multiple units there. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, that's what we purchased it as. So we're not asking for a change from single family to multifamily lot. It already was multifamily. Correct. Mm-hmm.
Did you say there's an attached garage?
No, there's 2 garages that are in the back. This must be a older printout here. I did send it to Brian. So Brian, if you could check your email and bring up the new and latest plan for this to show the garages as well, Brian, if you could right now.
See if we can track that here. Okay. So then I'm not sure if I know how to share that.
So up in
the top left, see the button where it says share.
Yes.
Click
Click
that,
that.
and share whichever way you're displaying it.
Madam Chair, if it helps what Mr. Maleka did showing me the other neighborhood, I've completely switched gears. So obviously I don't know how to use Google. That stuff what he did.
Can you see it there?
Yeah, we can see it, but I don't understand how you say it's 2 spaces for each house.
Correct. Yes. Each space is with 1 house. Correct.
Also 1 space per house.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. One garage space per unit. Yes.
Okay. And so this looks like you set the house back further than it was in the other picture.
Yes. That's correct. So that there was no variance needed in the way of a setback from Oak Street.
Okay.
It looks like that addresses planning's comments regarding a rear yard and no trees as well.
Right, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah. And if I may, the only variance that would separate this from a single unit development is the area district requirements. This requires 3,000 square feet per dwelling unit, whereas the single family would only require 2,000. So that if they were going to do a single family, they'd still need the other variances, just not that first one. So
Right.
Otherwise, it'd be an undevelopable lot if you didn't grant them any variances.
Right. Seems aggressive for this neighborhood, but I agree. It seems allowable, so. If we have no other questions for the applicant, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Mr. Welderly,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our April 27th BZA meeting. Unless there's other items that I don't know about.
Hey, Jamie, when are we going to meet in person again?
As of right now, I have no idea. We're still all working remotely from home with occasional staff coming in, but I don't know. I can bring that up at the next meeting.
I mean, I think by the August meeting for sure, if not September, if people aren't vaccinated, just don't let them in the building and we can have in-person meetings.
Okay. Yeah, we could.
Good luck
Are
with
you talking
that.
about just the board?
I was about to say, how are you going to enforce that?
The city can enforce it.
That'd be my question.
Make sure, unless you're passing a law, the city can enforce you have to have vaccination to come to the meeting.
Is that the vaccine passport that we all?
Yes. Absolutely. I'm all for it.
I'm waiting for a tattoo or something.
Yeah, right.
Okay, guys, good meeting. Thank you.
All right.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Yeah,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Michael still here? On? Well, that wasn't nearly as long as I thought it would be with Phil's case kind of getting wrapped up fairly quickly. I thought that with all the emails you got, Phil, we'd be here for another hour, so I'm somewhat relieved.
Still streaming.
Oh,